Chapter 399. Lu Zhongguang was roused. He knew that Xiao was smarter than him and would definitely be able to see more. Ta Dun's plateau army appeared in everyone's vision. Crane held onto the cloth bags and walked over one by one. Lu Zhongguang helplessly waved his hand. If you want to laugh, laugh. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. He had a sudden inspiration and felt that only by ruthlessly cutting them with a knife could he appease the godlike young lad's anger. The crucial point was, it was star coins. In this day and age, who would go against star coins? He knew the commotion caused by the battle tonight would not dissipate so quickly. Lu Zhongguang secretly evaluated in his heart. His hands were not slow and threw a money card in. After a while, Xiao raised his head. His shy and delicate face was brimming with confidence. There are a few things worth noting. Lu Zhongguang was startled. Forget it, this godlike young lad has a great dream. Lu Zhongguang subconsciously blurted out, what is it? He did not expect that Angelina would hand it over, and with that, they could rightfully occupy the waterway. This also meant Angelina had already viewed Lupus constellation as a stronger constellation than Andromeda constellation. Tang Tian, who was sitting with a golden knife, was overjoyed. 100 million per person, and they really paid. Tyrants. They are all tyrants. After the ecstasy, his heart was filled with regret. Seeing them so happy, his asking price was too low. But very quickly, Tang Tian consoled himself. It was not too little. There were still 13 people present. That was 3 billion. He had to consider if he should rob for a living in the future. The money came too quickly. Tang Tian's way of shouting was also very skillful. It successfully split the crowd. No one was willing to be the first to speak. But Crane was still surprised at Angelina's decisiveness. Knowing that she had made a mistake, she did not hesitate to invest in it to redeem herself. This kind of scheming was not something an ordinary person could do. Even he, who was previously dissatisfied with her for bringing the trouble here, after such an apology, all his dissatisfaction disappeared. Firstly, it was obvious that they had planned this, and tonight was a trap. Crane was dressed in black. He was extraordinarily handsome. His face had the shyness of a boy next door, causing Lu Zhongguang to think of Xiao. However, his temperament was more robust than Xiao's. Oh, it seemed that he was still a little reserved. Compared to that scheming Tang Tian, he was simply pure and flawless. Andromeda constellation's star doors to the other northern sky constellations were all managed by their respective star doors. Xiao, he is just a spirit general martial artist. Lu Zhongguang reacted and shook his head. Lu Zhongguang's heart was filled with amazement. Right at this moment, an awkward and distressed voice sounded in his ear. Thank you for your patronage. Even such a stupid person can see that. Crane glanced at the ecstatic Tang Tian. His heart was filled with sorrow. Unknowingly, this unreliable person seems to have become a tyrant. Crane laughed at himself. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that Ling Su had already impatiently returned to continue training. All right, I truly envy those simple-minded people. After calming down, he could not help but praise, other than killing the martial artists of Aquila constellation, which made him feel a little rash. He simply could not think of a better way to deal with the current situation. Should I kill all of them? Obviously not possible. The current situation, not only did it have enough deterrence, it also gave everyone some leeway to buffer. Secondly, the martial techniques that Tang Tian displayed, I have never displayed them before. From the looks of it, it should be a unique martial technique, and his attainment is extremely profound. I am sorry I am late, Ta Dun said. His face did not have any clues. His Majesty did not expect that these things would actually bring so much trouble to everyone. No matter what, Andromeda constellation has to take responsibility for this matter. To express our apologies, and for the friendship between Andromeda constellation and Lupus constellation to last forever, His Majesty has already decided to give the Season Fields waterways exit a radius of 50 kilometers to the Lupus constellation, and your noble side can build a city there. After Crane collected the money, Tang Tian stood up in satisfaction and clapped his hands. All right, I will not keep everyone for a meal. You are welcome to come again. Rumble, the sound of a large-scale cavalry approaching. The Lupus army immediately stopped what they were doing and maintained their vigilance. If Crane knew of Tang Tian's muttering, he would definitely not say a word and smash the sack on his face. Lu Zhongguang already completely believed in Xiao's judgment. To him, the Lupus army was truly powerful, but to keep everyone here, it was impossible. There were many martial artists present, and if the situation became chaotic, how many could the Lupus army kill? And if they were to provoke everyone into a common enemy, with the strength of the people present, there was a chance to turn defeat into victory. You are welcome to come again. Everyone looked at Tang Tian, and Tang Tian could see the anger in everyone's eyes, but he did not care. But there were a few people who were calm and did not show any joy or anger, causing Tang Tian to instinctively feel danger. What a superb psychological control ability! So what if he is a spirit military leader? Xiao, who was drinking water, stopped. Can't a spirit military leader be a unique military leader? Have you forgotten about the one from Ursa Major constellation? The ownership of the Star Door had always been the core benefit of Heaven's Road, and on this point, no constellation would easily give it up. For example, Orion Andromeda Star Door. The ownership was in the hands of Orion constellation, and both ends of the Star Door were controlled by Orion constellation. That was normal because Orion constellation was one of the 10 equatorial palace halls, and was 2 levels higher than Andromeda constellation, and was much stronger. Crane's footsteps stopped. Xiao said slowly, Tang Yi is a unique military leader. Crane saw that Tang Tian was almost drooling, and could not bear to watch. Hey, please pay attention to your image. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Xiao shook his head, a light aura flickering in his eyes. Luckily for the battle tonight, Tang Tian's true strength was revealed. If not, we would definitely be at a disadvantage. It seemed, unknowingly, he had already reached this stage. Why was it that his memories were filled with unreliable people? Lu Zhongguang returned to his residence, and before entering he saw Xiao and his teacher standing on the wall. Xiao had a mischievous look on his face, while his teacher was smiling. To the completely sealed Lupus constellation, the value of the waterway was incomparable. But the words, "Thank you for your patronage," made Lu Zhongguang feel uncomfortable, coming to someone else's territory, and being forced to fork out money to redeem himself. Such a thing was embarrassing. After Lu Zhongguang experienced the initial shock, he quickly calmed down. He had followed his teacher everywhere, and had seen many things, so he had the mental fortitude to do so. Although he did not understand what was going on, but if he were to reject such a big gift, then Tang Tian would not be Tang Tian. He said passionately, "Thank you so much, Princess Angelina. Our Lupus constellation is definitely a good friend of Andromeda constellation. The person who was killed has already been investigated. He is a famous expert of Aquila constellation, Chen Kue Song, ranked 4558 on the Heaven Road list." Xiao's eyes flashed. Tang Yi appeared in the battle with Yi Zhaogu. He led 200 Lupus martial artists to attack, but was blocked by Yi Zhaoji's sword, and lost his fighting strength. But today, he only brought 40 soldiers and killed Chen Kue Song. That's an incredible leap. Scheming. Lu Zhongguang was startled. He thought carefully, and nodded his head. Xiao is right. Tang Yi's blade was too strong, so strong that we did not even have the courage to resist. He already knew that with such a huge commotion, his teacher and Xiao would definitely be alerted. Who knows, maybe his teacher and Xiao were hiding in the dark, preparing to save him. The black-clothed young lady whistled behind her veil, and laughed. What a handsome little brother. Lu Zhongguang's expression became serious, and told her everything that happened in detail. Oh my, I am too inexperienced. Crane was very clear. From that day onwards, the waterway completely belonged to Lupus constellation. Similarly, to the current Lupus constellation, Fairy City was practically defenseless. Even when he had the upper hand, he still did not forget to disguise himself as a hooligan to create a false impression. To be so young, to be so monstrous, truly too powerful. When he said that, Crane's expression changed. After that, he kept quiet and looked at Xiao. He knew that Xiao was thinking carefully. His teacher also closed his eyes to rest, as though he was thinking about something. Crane grabbed the bag with both hands, and appeared in front of Lu Zhongguang. The young man's face had a look of shame. Unparalleled. Unparalleled military general. Lu Zhongguang's eyes opened wide and stuttered. Those 4 words, compared to the battle that happened tonight, had a bigger impact on him. Lu Zhongguang then placed his attention on Crane and secretly praised in his heart, "What a beautiful young man." Fourthly, Zhongguang just said that the strength of the Lupus army soldiers are all around the 6th level, and their combined attack is perfect, so their assault was very strong and injured a few people. But when Tang Yi charged, we were there, and the power was definitely not the combined attack of 46th level martial artists. Xiao pointed out a finger. Thinking about it carefully, although there were a few battles that shook him to the core, but Crane was still confused about how he got to where he was today. Thirdly, the Lupus army is much stronger than we expected, and we cannot treat them as an ordinary army. Back at the residence, Lu Zhongguang finally relaxed and laughed bitterly. "I lost face tonight." Everyone quickly dispersed, and the Lupus army cleaned up the scene. Teacher and I have already calculated, although the coordination of the Lupus army is much stronger, but the true power of the soldiers did not change much. That means the power of their blade auras will not change much. But the power of Tang Yi's blade far exceeded the combined attack of 46th level blade auras. Then there is only one possibility. He was definitely scheming. That's right, that is a good thing. Adrian nodded his head. "Tell us about the situation tonight. When we went, it was already rather late, and we did not see much." "That is the only possibility." Xiao said a lot and felt thirsty, so he sat down to drink some water. For them to forcefully occupy the exit of the waterway, from a legal point of view, it was not justifiable. If they were to instigate it, it would cause the martial artists of Andromeda Constellation to dislike Lupus Constellation. Chapter 400. Thank you, Master. Tang Yi was overjoyed and could not help but say, "Master, we need more Andromeda battle robes." Seeing the happiness on Tang Yi's face, he shook his head and said unhappily, "Hey, big guy, you've fallen. Only by using a spear to stab the opponent to death can it be called a true battle." Crane was surprised. Tang Tian looked extremely tired, with sparkling saliva at the corner of his mouth. "I'll give them all to you." Tang Tian immediately shook his head. The star power's effect was obviously not to increase the power of true power. Tang Yi acted as though he did not hear anything. Crane looked at Tang Tian in shock. This rascal actually leaned against the wall and fell asleep. Tang Tian happily sent Ta Dun off, and along with Ta Dun were 300 energy beast corpses. Ta Dun was in a good mood. With the 300 energy beasts, he could shut everyone's mouths. The current Andromeda constellation, with internal and external troubles, was like a volcano. If one was not careful, it would collapse. It was truly special. "This is the Andromeda treasure?" "His father." The mechanical spirit weapon is a brand new mechanical weapon created by 3 Spirit City because it has a martial spirit. The long-robed young man explained. "Interesting. It looked like a classic battle robe." Sai Lei's face was frosty. He sat at the top, listening to the mechanical engineers explaining their plans. 3 Spirit City, the battle a few days ago, had caused a huge disturbance in 3 Spirit City. But the population of 3 Spirit City did not decrease, but instead increased. "Invisibility," Crane blurted out. "This type of mechanism can provide us with a strong defense. It can block rank 8 martial technique attacks. The only weakness is that the consumption of star rocks is very high. Could there be some inside story that no one knew about?" Tang Tian was slightly disappointed with the Andromeda battle robe. He did not like the invisibility function. This godlike young lad, how could he use such a wretched method to win? Southern Cross Army style? The old man's eyes flashed with an undetectable light aura. He suddenly noticed another term. "Did you just say mechanical spirit weapons?" This kind of mechanism can specially break through all kinds of illusions, especially the illusions of water element true power. It is extremely destructive. The Flowing Wind group was infamous, but they were defeated and returned with heavy losses. It would be difficult for 3 Spirit City to remain quiet. The doubts in the long-robed young man's heart intensified. His father, who had always been swift and decisive, actually didn't give any orders this time. Wait a minute. Tang Tian waved his hand and gave them all to Tang. What had this guy been doing these past few days? The old man's outburst was like an illusion. He regained his composure and muttered, "Southern Cross Army? Mechanical spirit weapons? Could they have succeeded?" The old man's expression relaxed, and a rare look of fatigue appeared on his face. He sat on the chair and quickly fell asleep. His father. The long-robed young man did his best to resist this terrifying aura. His heart was filled with doubts. This was the first time he had seen his father lose control like this. Tang Tian cried out in surprise. His expression was strange. This subordinate has created an umbrella-shaped mechanism called the nest umbrella. It uses the number 29 bronze. It is able to float in the air and control the airflow freely. Inside the umbrella frame is the mucus of the Lin beast. After a high-speed machine gun, it can shoot out 60 m. Upon contact with the air, the mucus of the Lin beast will form an extremely sturdy thread. As long as the enemy enters the range of the nest umbrella, the 13 high-speed machine guns will be able to form an impenetrable spider web in the air. Ling Su impatiently urged, "Quickly take it out and let me see them." Based on the information we have, they have a close relationship with the Mo family. The long-robed young man tried his best to slow down his tone and make himself seem even calmer, but their mechanical spirit weapons have the obvious style of the Southern Cross Army. Tang Tian slept like a baby. The three of them picked up one each. His own nest was easily invaded by others. Wasn't his name as a mechanical grandmaster in vain? Is that what you think? Mechanical army, that was a place that people yearned for. What made them happy was that the bronze base had started to recruit people. But the layers and layers of strange examinations made the inside even more mysterious. Taking a deep breath, Crane resisted the urge to beat him up. He advised earnestly, "Tangton, what you are doing is wrong. Although absolute justice is inflexible, but for something like robbing, it will be like a drug that will continuously corrode your willpower. A righteous soul is the cornerstone for us to achieve great things. Furthermore, we do not lack money." Tang Tian and the other two gathered together curiously. Even Crane could not help but reveal a look of curiosity. He knew about the fairy textiles, but it was the first time he had seen one that was able to nurture it into a treasure. In the previous battle, Sai Lei was unable to provide any help, causing her to be extremely angry. This is a type of mechanical spider created by this subordinate. It is only the size of a gold coin. They are extremely sensitive to even the slightest vibration, including the movement of the air. We can mass produce them and cover every corner of the base. Anyone who wants to sneak into our base would be delusional. He was a battle maniac who loved to defeat his enemies head-on. He had always disdained and looked down on sneaking up behind his enemies to ambush them from behind. Tang Yi, who was at the side, revealed a look of joy. As a general, how could he not know the value of being invisible? "Yes, father." The long-robed young man replied respectfully, "I have personally witnessed the battle. Although they are still very young, but the embryonic form of the army is already there." But compared to the bustling outside, the interior of the bronze base was extremely strict. He then turned his head and laughed, "Little Crane, you must have a good time collecting money tonight." After a moment, the old man raised his head. His face did not have any strange expression. "I know about it. You can go and do what you need to do." Tang Tian could feel that his martial spirit and the battle robes were able to establish a connection. He tried to communicate with the battle robes. Suddenly, he felt a surge of star power rushing into his body. "I am sure." The old man did not hesitate. Where did they come from? The small Three-Spirit City was suddenly filled to the brim. The place with the most people in Three-Spirit City was the entrance of the bronze base. Countless mechanical martial artists squeezed their way into the place that was hailed as the current #1 mechanical training camp. The man's figure was like a reflection in the water. Slowly, he became blurry and disappeared. I know. Tang Tian casually replied. Ling Su raised his nose proudly and went to train. Suddenly, his heart moved. The star power of the battle robes flowed along the surface of Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian's body slowly disappeared in front of the two of them. The long-robed young man sensed that something was amiss. He did not reveal it. Instead, he respectfully replied, "Yes, father." The old man was deep in thought in his room. Only when the sky started to darken did he wake up. The old man said, "Go to Three Spirit City and bring the leader of the bronze base back." Looking at the gradually brightening lights outside the window, a look of determination flashed past his eyes. He pressed a button on his desk. After a while, an ordinary-looking man entered the room. No one had any objections to the tests. Instead, it made everyone scramble for it. All the mechanical martial artists thought that it was definitely a new method created by the bronze base. Who passed the tests and how many tests had already become the hottest topic among the mechanical martial artists in Three Spirit City. "You said it has a martial spirit." The old man's eyes widened. In that instant, the aura that exploded out caused the long-robed young man to choke. These mechanical wolves are extremely agile and fast. The power of their attacks is equivalent to a rank 7 martial technique. After adding the martial spirit to them, they are extremely intelligent. They are definitely not inferior to the real star spirit wolves. Ling Su, as expected, "You are a real man." Tang Tian praised. Tang Tian bellowed. He punched out. A faint fist aura was released from his fist. "Are you sure?" The man looked at him. "I only owe you one last thing. If the Lupus army had the ability to become invisible, then their fighting strength would immediately rise to a new level. The Lupus army had the Flaming Steps horses. Their charging abilities were outstanding. If they had the ability to become invisible, then their enemies would definitely not be able to eat or sleep in peace." Tang Tian and Ling Su, who could not wait any longer, had already donned their battle robes. Ling Su had also found the trick to use it, but his face revealed a look of disappointment. He mumbled, "Boring." Crane carefully inspected the star treasure in his hand. It was truly different from ordinary star treasures. There were obvious traces of handwork, but the dense star power made people not suspect that it was a star treasure. It was light in his hand as though it was weightless. Crane was surprised. What made people even more excited was that this was the first time a mechanical army had achieved victory since the era of the three great armies. In a moment, all the mechanical martial artists and mechanical engineers from the various big constellations swarmed towards Three Spirit City. The old man's question was filled with pressure like his gaze. The battle robe stuck to his body. It tightly wrapped around his body. Tang Tian felt as though he was being enveloped by the dense star power. It was warm and comfortable. Crane's expression froze. The long-robed young man was taken aback. His father was inflexible and stubborn. Anyone would be fearful of him. He was extremely disgusted with any half-hearted actions. Every time he reported to his father, he would receive a clear order. "I understand," was something that had never appeared before in his memories. That night, she ordered every mechanical engineer under her to come up with a plan for the mechanism. She wanted to build a real bronze fort. This huge family, under his father's orders, advanced at a high speed. The low and dignified voice resonated in the room. The long-robed young man's heart trembled. Since young, this voice had left an indelible mark in his heart. Even if he had grown up and was in charge of an area, when he heard this voice, his heart would still tremble uncontrollably. Behind the desk, an old man in his 50s, dressed in a military uniform, sat upright on a soft, velvet chair. His white hair was meticulously combed, and his gaze was filled with a sense of oppression. Chapter 401. After the battle a few nights ago, they finally realized that this place was not as safe as they thought it was. Madame Sun raised a question: "How do we control these star spirit beasts?" Finished, he completely ignored everyone and left like a gust of wind. These people were all pulled over by Old Man Fei, and amongst this group of people, Old Man Fei still had some prestige. Everyone's eyes turned to look at him. Everyone could not help but reveal a look of surprise. The short and fat lady was Madame Lin. Her standard was rather ordinary. She was usually quiet and did not speak much. Everyone would subconsciously ignore her. It was a perfect ancient defensive position. Sai Lei's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent. All of you go back to your positions. Whoever dares to drop the ball at such a crucial time, humph humph. All right, old Dan. Don't talk about old scores. Anyways, this time, whoever dares to run is a coward. A black-faced old man sneered. The first one to deliver himself to us. The Blood Meridian's laboratory was currently an important part of the bronze base. Before the expansion of the mechanical laboratory, their scale had exceeded the mechanical laboratory for a long time. He could see that the inside of the bronze base was heavily guarded. The long-robed young man laughed. We will know soon enough. A middle-aged lady said indifferently, I am researching on the ancient lizard blood meridians. Recently, I have separated out a very special poison. It can paralyze a person's nerves. It has a strong penetration ability towards true power. We can place this poison at the crucial location. Madame Lin did not panic because of everyone's attention. She said calmly, in the past, my body was not good, but I could not hire anyone. So I was thinking of using star spirit beasts to help. After that, I realized that as long as I inject a diluted star spirit beast blood meridian into my body, it would feel close to me. But there is still a problem with the communication between both parties. Previously, when I was separating the ancient wolf blood meridians, I realized that the ancient wolf blood meridians were able to sense each other. After that, I realized that as long as both parties absorbed the diluted ancient wolf blood meridians, they would be able to successfully communicate. When he flew up the wall, the scene in front of him surprised him. Sai Lei looked at the image in front of him and gritted his teeth. Luckily Big Sis was prepared. Can we use the method of mechanical spirit weapons? The black-faced old man asked. We can change its martial spirit. Everyone gathered together and decided to think of a solution, but they soon began to quarrel. That could only mean that the other party had an extremely deep understanding of the ancient defensive positions. How could such a person not know the flaws and weaknesses of the ancient defensive positions? In the past 5 days, according to the arrangements outside, he had made repeated deductions along a few flaws, and came up with more than 15 possible traps. An ancient defensive formation that was even more accurate than a textbook. It wasn't easy for them to find a place to settle down, so they were quite satisfied. They hadn't seen their boss for hundreds of years. If it were someone else's subordinates, they would definitely be anxious. However, for these bloodline specialists who were engrossed in their research and didn't like worldly affairs, it couldn't be better. Don't bother them if there's nothing important. That was what these people were thinking. Everyone immediately kept quiet out of fear. It was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The underground mechanical laboratory was already in complete chaos. All of the mechanical engineers were extremely excited as though they had been injected with chicken blood. He had absolute confidence in his own strength, but he had never relied solely on his personal strength to charge around recklessly. In his opinion, that kind of reckless behavior would only be courting death. Sai Lei frowned and bellowed, all of you shut up. The night was extremely suitable for stealth, the dark clouds had covered the moon, and it was pitch black to the point that one could not even see their fingers. Duan Mu was like a shadow, quietly getting closer to the bronze base. He quietly landed on the city wall. Old Man Fei shook his head. Impossible, the martial spirit of a star spirit beast is much more complicated than a mechanical spirit weapon. The biggest meeting room of the Blood Meridian's laboratory was filled with people. Duan Mu looked at the bronze fort from afar. He had already observed it for a full 7 days. He did not make a move immediately. He was a cautious person, and without absolute confidence, he would never make a move. Even after doing that, he would regain his composure. He was still as patient as before. That was the opponent's true flaw. He had some suspicions. After looking carefully, he realized that there really were bronze umbrellas floating in the air. There was an astonishing number of them, at least a few hundred of them. Duan Mu was extremely confident, but he was not careless. His light body technique was outstanding and did not alert anyone. His feet did not even touch the walls, and like a lump of air, he swept across the air without a sound. He did not notice that in a pile of junk in the corner, a bronze spider the size of a gold coin was trembling slightly. Scared? Bullshit. An old man with hair and beard stood up, his face flushed red. He slammed the table and roared, Old Dan, have never been afraid of anyone. That year, what was that? I forgot his name. He was ranked 3,000 plus on the 3 boards. Their temperament was eccentric, not because they were stupid, but because of their pride. They also understood the stakes. The skinny old man's face revealed a distressed look. This is also the problem that I have encountered. These 3-star spirit beasts are all in my laboratory cages, and they are completely out of my control. Because he did not find anything out of the ordinary, which made him feel even more strange. Every detail was perfectly restored to the ancient city wall layout. All the professionals who were interested in the ancient city wall, if they saw this base, would definitely sigh in admiration. Everyone knew, if this method was successful, it would be an incredible thing. Luckily we are prepared. Just then, a short and fat lady in the corner spoke, Maybe I have a way. Although they did not see eye to eye, but that was just an academic dispute. After quarreling and fighting, everyone enjoyed the atmosphere there. They were currently quarreling intensely. The long-robed young man looked at the report in his hand and was surprised. Such a large-scale movement of resources was definitely not normal. Especially the amount of bronze, it was shocking. Prepare the feast. Until the 10th day, he had to admit, the opponent's standard was high, something he had never seen before. After a full 10 days, he actually could not find any traces of them disguising themselves. This did not surprise him. After going through a battle, if the opponent's defense was still lax, they would not even need him to take action. As expected, they are walking right into the trap. Umbrella? The interior of the bronze city wall was extremely spacious, but as far as the eye could see, there were many umbrellas floating in the air. Old Man Fei impatiently slammed the table. All of you stop. I called you all here to discuss any good ideas. Don't talk nonsense. Whoosh, everyone stood up at the same time and followed behind, wanting to see what was going on. Could it be that they are planning to expand their army? Playboy asked carefully. He was not stupid. His big brother's attention to 3 Spirit City had exceeded his expectations. With his understanding of his big brother, there was definitely a reason for him to place such importance on it. Could it be that this matter was so important? They had met an expert. Strong strength, only with a detailed and thorough plan, could they be successful. A skinny old man who was picking his feet suddenly raised his head. You want to scare us away with just the flowing wind group? I'm so embarrassed by your words. Even Old Man Fei's face revealed an interested expression. What's the result? But he still did not act blindly without thinking. Such an unusual arrangement could possibly be a trap. Duan Mu did not think that there would still be people who would truly use the ancient methods to set up a defense. The battle that happened that night had scared them silly, but what followed after was incomparable anger. The blood meridian specialists that Old Man Fei had recruited were mostly people with good strength, but were not satisfied. Most of them were people with bad tempers, and were not liked by others. He knew who his father had sent, the mysterious man by his father's side. He had never seen him before, but he knew that his father had such a strong and mysterious martial artist by his side, and only at the most crucial time would his father send him out. Duan Mu was calm and collected, but he was not afraid to be able to make him go out. How could the opponent be weak? Pa, she snapped her fingers. The long-robed young man had some suspicions, but very quickly he did not think about it. With this person going out, very quickly the truth would be revealed. Waiting for the result, at this time, there was no need to act blindly without thinking. That's great. The skinny old man slapped his thigh, extremely excited. I will go and try it now. Everyone was shocked. Good stuff. As expected of Madame Sen. The skinny old man's eyes lit up, and he stopped picking his feet. I will not hide it anymore. I have been doing research for a while now. The direction of the research is, if the blood meridians are injected into the body of a star spirit beast, can it produce an even stronger star spirit beast? I have already succeeded with 3 types of star spirit beasts, and they are relatively strong. The skinny old man's face revealed a pleased look. Many of the arrangements in the bronze base looked weird in his eyes because they were all too ancient. The ancient constructions naturally had a huge difference from the present, and after so many years, many tactics had undergone huge changes. The reason why these ancient arrangements were ineffective was because generations after generations of continuous research, people had long found their flaws and solutions. The skinny old man's thoughts attracted many people's interest. He chose an important point of the opponent's defense as a breakthrough point, because in that position, it was definitely impossible to set up any traps. On the 15th day, he decided to move out. Are they going to start a war? In the ancient defensive formation, his current position was the area where the attacks were the most concentrated. As long as a martial artist had some research on the ancient defensive formations, they would definitely not choose this place as a breakthrough point. Everyone dispersed in an uproar. What's the use of not being able to control it? The old man who slammed the table and roared earlier sneered. The ancient-style base, in his eyes, was like an unguarded beauty. The situation was strange, because it was the most impossible area to set up a trap. Since the opponent knew and still intentionally did it, there was definitely something fishy. In the 7 days, he carefully checked the surroundings of the bronze base and felt that it was strange. He went around for 7 days and became more cautious. It must be some kind of mechanism. Duan Mu became even more cautious. Chapter 402. Is this guy's brain fried? To run to the firepower area, that is where our attacks are the strongest, a student said with a face of confusion. In the other direction of the base, in the Blood Meridian's laboratory, a group of people with all sorts of different shapes and sizes gathered together. I already said that the bitch is not so simple. She has been eyeing us for a long time. Could it be that there were people from outside? An old man scolded unwillingly. This time we were snatched by the bitches who forge iron first. In the past, he did not even put mechanical engineers in his eyes. In all the professions, mechanical engineers had been declining for too long, to the point that only mechanical martial artists could be compared to them. A trace of uneasiness rose in his heart. Duan Mu was very careful. His experience in sneaking around was extremely rich. Regardless of whether it was the control of light or the suppression of sound, they were all perfect. He felt that his condition that night was the best. His body had an appropriate degree of excitement. His mind was extremely calm. Every time he was in such a state, he would be able to display his abilities and obtain inconceivable victories. Mechanical Weapons Laboratory. That's right. Old Man Fei was extremely excited. Previously, everyone knows about the expansion of the metal forging department. Humph, it was the metal forging department. They were jealous of our scale and wanted to expand. Boss had no choice and could only reluctantly agree. All of the mechanical engineers held their breaths. Sai Lei's arrogant words entered their ears, causing their fighting intent to soar. The fear on their faces became even thicker. Oh my God, that was too scary. They did not have any good feelings towards the Mechanical Weapons Laboratory and called it the Metal Forging Department, and the boss of the Mechanical Weapons Laboratory, Sai Lei, was called the bitch who forged iron. Everyone get ready. Now, at beginning. Destroy him. Old Man Fei was extremely vexed. Our reaction was too slow. What's wrong with the bitch? Madame Sun said coldly. A few of the female blood meridian specialists all had a gloomy face. Are all experts so stubborn? Another student asked innocently. We definitely cannot lose to them. To lose to a bitch, this old man cannot accept it. Boss, are we just going to watch like this? Another student said unwillingly. For the funds. That is a good thing. The students did not understand. Is the boss out of money? Mozu did not even look at them and continued to immerse himself in the plot. For this glorious tradition to continue, Team A will become the first testing group for the new mechanical spirit weapons. Suddenly, a shadow fell from above. A few mechanical wolves quietly appeared on the city wall not far away, their bodies glowing with a metallic luster. A mechanical malfunction caused an accident during training. Mozu said expressionlessly. After a few days of investigation, Duanmu understood the base very well. Many people in Three Spirits City proudly claimed that the base had the most advanced mechanical techniques, and from the looks of it, it was not without reason. Their movements were light and agile, and the sound of their feet landing on the ground was very soft. When they lined up, they were like an army. Everyone was in high spirits. In the corner, Duanmu carefully sized up the bronze wolves, praising in his heart, the craftsmanship was truly exquisite. These bronze wolves were about the same size as real wolves, and were different from normal mechanical wolves. They looked extremely exquisite. Without thick joints or bloated bodies, they were like works of art, very beautiful. However, their glistening blue claws and teeth made them look very dangerous. "Boss, it's not that exaggerated, right?" the student who was hit said with grievance. The mechanical wolf did not seem to have noticed him, and slowly advanced forward, not revealing any form of attack. The student swallowed his saliva. "Boss, what you said is too scary." He cleared his throat and imitated Sai Lei's tone, and said, "Recently we have researched a brand new mechanical spirit weapon. To test its actual battle capabilities, we will temporarily let you Team A experience it." Just at that moment, a rustling sound came from below the city wall. Duanmu felt weird, but the mechanical wolf was already very close to him, and he was unable to look down to see what was happening. Mozu warned, "Do you know who you cannot provoke in this base? The 108 Bronze Men's Square formation has been assembled." "Scary?" Mozu looked at the group of immature students with pity, and continued to sneer. "That's scary? You guys are too inexperienced." "How did I die?" the student who was pointed at asked with a face full of confusion. Mozu waved his hand. "In the future, please call her first big sister." Tonight, Mozu's team was in charge of guarding, and a large group of people surrounded the video, discussing enthusiastically. "There shouldn't be any relation," Madame Lin said uncertainly. "That's right." Mozu rolled her eyes. "What? Don't tell me you want to snatch big sister's business?" "Exaggerated?" Mozu sneered. "Do you know why I am the group leader and you are a small fart? It is because of the difference in our taste and foresight. Master Bing is a big figure, he will not care about the matters below. Boss Cho, we have offended him, at most we will be punished with training, confinement or something. But think about it, what are the consequences of offending Big Sister?" Inside the base, it was already a mess. His face revealed a look of caution, and then his pupils constricted. "Profound. Boss, your words are too profound and classic." Everyone below exploded. Nest umbrella, enter the designated position. She stared at Duanmu in the video, her face revealing a crazed expression. Her snow-white hands loosened her collar and fiercely muttered to herself, "To dare to be impudent in my territory, you must be tired of living." Duanmu was experienced and knowledgeable, but it was the first time he had seen someone who could create a mechanical wolf to such a standard. Activate the scissors defense. The stakes are too high. Old Man Fei shook his head and said in a deep voice, "Everyone's days have been good, but we cannot be careless. It was not easy to find such a generous boss. If we were to lose this golden thigh, everyone's days will not be good." Sigh. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The innocent companions were so scared that their faces started to turn white. Flatten the iron smithing division. The companions with faces full of fear all nodded their heads and said in unison, "First Big Sister." The bronze wolves formed a line and patrolled along the walls. If it was like that, it would not be a bad thing for him, as it was beneficial for him to fish in troubled waters. Without being clear of the situation, he would not act blindly without thinking. That was his experience. Her beautiful eyes suddenly widened, and she spat out 3 words like a fire-breathing dragon. Duanmu did not move. Mozu nodded his head in satisfaction. Who else dares to snatch Big Sister's business? Old Man Fei signaled for everyone to be quiet and continued, "What you guys said did not happen, boss is good. But everyone think about it, no matter how rich boss is, he has a limit to his money. If he gave it to us, it would be fine, but we still have a competitor." Incessant reports entered Sai Lei's ears. The excited Sai Lei stepped on the chair with one leg, the tight-fitting leather one-piece battle uniform, accentuating her perfect curves. Under the light, her bewitching lipstick flashed with a sexy and crazy luster. Suddenly, his ears moved. Mozu crossed his arms and casually replied, "She is an expert after all." Duan Mu was surprised, but his heart calmed down. He was definitely not the only one keeping an eye on the bronze base. Maybe there were other people taking action tonight. The student who spoke just now mumbled, "Boss, you can't be talking about Big Sister Sai Lei, right?" The student immediately shrunk his neck and did not say anything. "The mechanical wolves have completed the encirclement." That's right, that's right. "You're talking about the old lady who forged iron?" The skinny old man asked. "Something good?" Mozu pointed to a few students with his orchid fingers. "Then, you died." A group of old men and women dressed in colorful clothes spread out with killing intent. Their faces were filled with fear, and their faces were pale white. Duan Mu raised his head. Unknowingly, the bronze umbrellas had already floated outside the city walls. Mozu glanced at the students. "Can you be an expert if you think it through?" Everyone shook their heads like a rattle drum. But now he realized mechanical engineers were truly an annoying profession. There were all sorts of weird things, making it hard for people to defend against. Especially if the mechanical engineer's standard was high, then it was even more annoying. Old Man Fei nodded his head satisfyingly. "Everyone defend well. From what I see, the metal forging department is not reliable. To truly make the final decision, it is still our Blood Meridian's laboratory. Everyone be alert, for the funds." Duan Mu held his breath. Like a shadow, he shrunk into a corner. Duan Mu was very calm. He had long expected to meet with mechanical beasts. There were many outstanding mechanical engineers here. It would be weird if there were no mechanical beasts. Mozu continued to sneer. "When you guys are training, suddenly crack, the joints of the mechanical spirit weapon break, then you will be like a graceful swan. Even the arc you fly out is very graceful. If you were to fight, you will become a graceful swan. Use your brain, please. They are in charge of logistics. If they move their fingers, your lives will be gone." "Bullshit." Mozu's hand immediately knocked the student's head, his gaze sweeping across the rest. "All of you better remember this. You can provoke anyone, but you definitely cannot provoke Big Sister. Little guy, you can still hold it in. Bronze Wolf. What's wrong with boss? All 360 mechanical crossbows are to be activated." The student started to suck up to him. Mozu was enjoying it. He patted the student's shoulder. "Young lad, work hard." Old Man Fei saw that there was going to be a civil war and immediately changed the topic. "So we definitely cannot let the metal forging department look down on us. We need to let boss see, to give us the funds. Compared to the metal forging department, we are much more useful." Mozu's orchid fingers appeared again, imitating Sai Lei's tone of mourning. "I never thought that this mechanical spirit weapon would actually have such a serious flaw. We will go through a new round of modifications and upgrades. The students who sacrificed themselves for the development of our mechanical spirit weapon have made an indelible contribution. We will pay our respects to them." Chapter 403. I bet 7 rounds. Chi. Duan Mu took a deep breath. Unknowingly, a big silver shield appeared in his hands. Unique sword technique. Heavenly Dragon Roar. A sword appeared in his hand. The sword struck out like the wind, the sharp sword aura effortlessly slicing the bronze man in front of him into two, but he was not the least bit happy. The bronze rod on his left smashed over with an astonishing sound of wind, the spear, blade, and sword on his right. The remaining few mechanical wolves flew back, and their vitality was greatly injured. I bet 10 rounds. The student tactfully changed the topic. Bang. The movement on the ground caused Duan Mu's heart to jump. He immediately lowered his head to look. Duanmu had already lost his breath. But his reaction was fast. He gathered his remaining true power and injected it into the silver spear. Pooh, he stabbed the silver spear into the city wall. These scissors were the size of a palm. Ka-cha-ka-cha. They opened and closed very quickly. They were like a group of hungry insects. His entire body froze. Unknowingly, a silver spear appeared in his hands. The orderly mechanism sounds came out. The bronze umbrellas that were quietly floating started to rotate at high speeds. Duanmu was like a nimble monkey. His body swayed. Like a swing, he jumped back onto the city wall. Duanmu then understood that the opponent had long discovered him. The bronze umbrellas floated outside to prevent him from escaping. He did not understand how the opponent discovered him. But it was not the time to think about it. Scuculum constellation silver treasure, bull heavy shield. Pa. Not good. Ooh. Duanmu understood that the opponent wanted to prevent him from escaping. It meant that the opponent was confident and had made sufficient preparations. If it was a normal martial artist, they would definitely be in a mess. But Duanmu was extremely calm. In the blink of an eye, Duanmu was completely surrounded by the densely packed bronze men. He was isolated and helpless. Bang! Sai Lei exclaimed in admiration. Then he snapped his fingers. Ka. A sense of danger rose in his heart. The patrolling mechanical wolves stopped in unison. They turned around and stared at him with their blue eyes. The floorboards started to flip. In the blink of an eye, 108 bronze men formed an orderly square formation. They were all staring at him. The floorboards started to flip. 9 bronze men appeared on the floor. The big shield lit up with a dazzling light aura. Then it exploded into 10 pieces and flew in all directions. It's called Bronze Man C. The student was frightened by the leader's terrifying face. He started to speak incoherently, I. Duanmu heard the voice and knew it was powerful. He subconsciously dodged to the side. The mechanical wolf was much sturdier than he had imagined. It was actually able to withstand such a powerful attack. Duanmu knew that he would not be able to obtain any benefits today and did not have the heart to continue fighting. After repelling the mechanical wolves, he turned and flew out of the city walls. The low sound of a crossbow's bowstring sounded out, and 3 shockingly thick rays of light shot towards Duanmu, who was wielding his shield. Even in the darkness, he could see everything clearly. Even Duanmu could see everything clearly. Even in Duanmu. Although Jiang, his outstanding balance was displayed without a doubt. Under the situation where his true power was in disorder, he was still able to maintain his stability. He was like a big bird gliding in the air. The silver spear in his hand was the Northern Sky Triangulum Constellation Treasure, Triangular Rain Spear. This move was its killing move, Triangle Rain. Looks like I have to clean up the mess. Mo Wu Wei rubbed his chin and muttered to himself. Without turning his head, he said, Everyone, prepare for battle. Come on, let's tell him, there's a kind of sea. Please, can you grow some brains? Mozu rolled his eyes. Of course we are betting on how long he can last under Big Sister's merciless torture. Big Sister is so fierce. Who can beat her? His body twisted strangely in midair and was about to slide down the outer wall of the city. At this moment, his pupils shrank again. But very quickly, he noticed that something was wrong because his surroundings had suddenly become incomparably quiet. The floorboards around Duanmu started to flip one by one, like a wave spreading out. Boss, your eyes are like a torch. Duanmu's heart jumped. The other party had already noticed his infiltration. This base actually had something as terrifying as a stronghold crossbow. Even the bad habits of these wily old foxes were not neglected by him. Everyone's eyes lit up. One of the students asked excitedly, Boss, do we bet on winning or losing? Ever since he became the group leader, his temperament had become much more lively, as though he had changed into a different person. But he had no choice. In his group, there were many wily old foxes. If he did not mingle with everyone, no one would listen to him. He was not like Mo Wu Wei, who had a high position in the family, so he could only lower his status and mingle with everyone first. Duanmu's breathing became rough. This sword technique killing move, if it was any other time, naturally would not be a problem, but now that he had continuously attacked, not only did it cause him to be injured, even his breathing and rhythm were completely messed up. Forcefully using it, the meridians in his body were immediately damaged. The tip of his sword lightly touched the bronze rod, and the blade of the sword bent greatly before straightening again. Borrowing this force, he suddenly sped up and rushed into the 3 bronze men on the right. His sword flashed continuously, and the 3 bronze men were heavily damaged in the lower half of their joints. The crisp and clear sounds of impact were concentrated like rain, sparks flying from every mechanical wolf's body. They were hit hard, their bodies trembling violently, and they flew out. 2 crossbow arrows brushed past his body. The airflow caused his entire body to go numb, and the remaining crossbow arrow hit the big shield in his hands. Ding ding ding. Bang. Mo Wu Wei was like a mechanical puppet as he stiffly turned his neck, expressionless. You want to change groups? He was completely unable to describe the scene of 108 bronze men shooting towards him at the same time. He was 100% sure that it was not his imagination. All the bronze men raised their heads in an orderly manner, staring at him. Should we go and help them? A student asked weakly. A standard thrust. The silver spear exploded into a silver rain, forming a perfect triangle, enveloping all the mechanical wolves. Almost at the same time, the mechanical wolves used all their strength and rushed towards him at an astonishing speed. Duan Mu saw that he had been exposed and did not hide anymore. Without any intention of dodging, he took the initiative to rush towards the mechanical wolves that were rushing towards him. Bang! This move was the only famous move of the shield-type martial technique, Great Windmill. The opponent's tight arrangement would only make them arrogant, and to him, it was an opportunity. The sharp sound of air breaking came from all directions, the arrows were like rain, there were no blind spots. Pa pa pa! Pa 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 pa! Are you complimenting me for having big eyes? Mozu blinked his small eyes and said. A few hundred scissors jumped up high, releasing a ear-piercing kacha-kacha sound. The opening and closing of the scissors brought up a gust of air, which was less than half a meter away from his feet. Voila! Duan Mu could not care about anything else. He tiptoed, and like an arrow leaving the bow, he rushed into the base. Below the city walls, there was an additional jet-black river. The Overlord bow was an even more powerful stronghold-type mechanical crossbow. Its power was astonishing, but its weakness was that the preparation time was longer, and the firing frequency was very slow. Duan Mu, who was in mid-air, controlled his body, his true power accumulating. He was like a leaf, slowly floating down. As expected of a mechanical grandmaster. Duan Mu groaned, the area between his thumb and index finger dripping with blood. The huge impact caused him to fly out. Duan Mu's heart sank. His first move was a killing technique. He wanted to get rid of the mechanical wolves in one move. But he did not expect that he would only destroy 2 mechanical wolves. This result was far below his expectations. Hearing their leader's words that were filled with killing intent, the rest of them obediently kept quiet. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. In his vision, there were many bronze umbrellas floating. He knew that he could not hesitate. He forcefully raised his true power, the sword light in his hand exploding. The huge Overlord bow had 9 7th-level star rocks embedded in it, releasing a dazzling light aura. The crossbow string was slowly pulled back. The thick and sturdy crossbow arm was slowly changing shape, releasing a sound that caused people's scalps to go numb. The crossbow arrow that was thicker than an arm, the cold light flickering from the arrowhead, caused people's hearts to palpitate. Seeing Duan Mu's power, Sai Lei was not the least bit angry, but instead felt extremely excited. His eyes lit up, one of his legs stepped on the chair and shouted, "Where's the Overlord bow? Oh, we want to let him have a taste of the Overlord bow." Mo Wu Wei was like a mechanical puppet. He turned his head back stiffly. After a while, he touched his chin and muttered, "How can I win against them?" Duan Mu's scalp went numb. So strong. Mozu's eyes almost dropped to the ground. He patted his chest with lingering fear. Oh my God, so fierce. Luckily we have Big Sister suppressing us. Come, everyone start placing your bets. This is such a good situation. If we don't place our bets, it will be a loss. Strong. Mo Wu Wei from another group stared at the screen for a long time. Even though he was calm and collected, his head was about to explode. The size of the shield was astonishing. It was 3 m tall. Its width was over 1.5 m. It was much bigger than Duan Mu's body. Are my eyes really that big? The bronze arrows that were shot onto the shield were immediately deflected and shot out in all directions, crackling like rain. A series of explosions came out from the city walls, but before the fragments of the explosions could fly out, they were shot out by the spiderwebs and entangled tightly. That section of the city wall was wrapped with a layer of dense spiderwebs. Duan Mu had a lingering fear. If he was half a beat slower, he would definitely be entangled like a dumpling. The star power flowed from the shield into his arms, causing his arms to expand rapidly. He exhaled loudly, swinging the heavy shield. Like a windmill, it brought forth an astonishing afterimage. Rumble, rumble. Duan Mu maintained his composure. He stood at his original position, not moving an inch. But the power of the bronze rod caused the blood in Duan Mu's chest to churn, but at that moment, he did not have the time to adjust his breathing. Stronghold crossbow. Damn it. The sword aura was astonishingly sharp, sweeping everything in its path. The 20-odd bronze men beside Duan Mu were all destroyed at the same time. Powerful. Her face exposed a charming smile. Her sexy and alluring lips softly spat out 4 words. The mechanical wolf's attacks flew towards him, 10 crescent-shaped blade auras, instantly appearing in front of him. The sword roared like a dragon. A dazzling sword aura, spiraling like a dragon, rose from the ground. 2 of the mechanical wolves could not withstand the attacks and exploded in the air. The group of mechanical wolves charged into the triangular rain of spears. All of the nest umbrellas were scattered outside the city walls, making it much more comfortable inside. Xiu xiu xiu. His companions felt their scalps go numb, but they did not dare to object and replied in unison, yes. Countless of thin threads shot out from the bronze umbrellas towards him. In the blink of an eye, these thin threads formed an impenetrable net in front of him. Chapter 404. Since it's like that, then let's listen to what the smart people have to say. Are you for real? Don't get it wrong again. Tang Tian's face was full of suspicion and distrust. The Blood Meridian's laboratory exploded. When Tang Tian returned to Three Spirit City, the person who welcomed him was Sai Lei. Then why did we double our training? His voice resonated throughout the base. Can we eat and dash? Yes, as long as we reach Aquarius constellation, we can return to Southern Cross constellation. Bing was certain. Despicable. I'll help you chop it up. Simply? Master was finally going to be freed from the meat skewers. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Duan Mu. Bell jumped in fright. Weapon rack? Duan Mu. Mo Wu Wei shook his head. It doesn't matter. Idiot. Don't you know how to run? Run to the left. There's a path there. Won't we have 2 more rounds if we take a detour? Zhui Yan's eyes lit up, his heart was in ecstasy, and he almost cried tears of joy. There's no need to check. Sai Lei said happily, I already know. It's over, the funds. This asshole. His mind is extremely calm and decisive. His battle achievements are glorious. I have never heard of him and Grand Duke Huafu Man being involved. Bell continued. But, if it is Grand Duke Huafu Man, it is not strange. The playboy that Boss and Sai Lei teased the last time is Huafu Man's son. Tang Cho reported, Master Bing is busy with Sky Marshal Wolf Academy. I surrender. No, Master, this is a genius idea. Mo Wu Wei's group. Finished, he unceremoniously brought Shui Yen under the water tap and turned it to the maximum. The situation is not looking good. Bell muttered, Leo Constellation and the Honorable Martial Alliance just went through a huge battle, and the Honorable Martial Alliance lost more than 16 gold-ranked martial artists. The Honorable Martial Alliance is constantly mobilizing their strength. If Boss wants to leave, he has to leave as soon as possible. I have discussed with Pai Pa before. From a certain perspective, the 10 equatorial palace halls are the vassals of the 12 ecliptic palaces, and the flames of war will spread to the 10 equatorial palace halls, and at that time, it will not be easy to leave. Aquarius. Tang Tian was stunned. Xianxia rushed all the way to the restaurant. Tang Tian's face turned ugly. Sky Wolf Martial Academy, Energy Hall. His first reaction was that his pocket had deflated again. Where is Uncle Bing? Is he busy? Tang Tian asked curiously. After being splashed with cold water, Zhui Yan completely woke up. Looking at the mountain of flesh in front of him, he immediately became dispirited. He casually picked up a bamboo stick and stabbed it into the mountain of flesh without even looking at it. Ophiuchus constellation. How does Master wish to leave? Ding Dang asked. Little Tang Tang, you finally have time to visit me? Could it be that he missed his sister? Come, let Big Sister see if you've lost weight. He was interrupted by Bing. We only need to reach Aquarius constellation. Tang Tian had a headache. The problem seemed to have suddenly become complicated. Xianxia saw that they were running out of time, so without a second word he lifted Zhui Yan up, slung him over his shoulder, and dashed outside. Zhui Yan was carried by Xianxia as he ran, but he was still sleeping soundly. The saliva at the corner of his mouth was drooling. Xianxia saw that Zhui Yan was awake, and immediately went to do his own work. Everyone looked at Xianxia with eyes full of admiration. This young lad was hardworking and had a good temper. He was never lazy, and would rush to do everything. A few of them had daughters. If not for Xianxia being an outsider, they would have long thought of ways to take action. Shameless. Ding Dang opened her mouth. He was instigated by someone. Someone secretly told them about us. On the day they attacked, there were many traces of martial artists sneaking in. There were people hiding in the dark, but I am still unable to find out their origins. He flipped over and continued to sleep. The others had finally caught up with Tang Tian, and naturally had to report to him. A subordinate who did not let the leader know of his results was not a good subordinate. Using numbers to bully the few. You're not a hero. Swoosh, everyone's gaze landed on Sai Lei. Sai Lei's charming eyes were like silk. She was obviously in a good mood. Tang Tian made up his mind. When he saw this guy, he would definitely scold him. Sky Martial Wolf Academy? What's that? Tang Tian's face was confused. Who is it? Bing's voice came out from behind. He had just arrived, and upon hearing Sai Lei's words, he blurted out. Xianxia squeezed out a smile. We are still young, uncle. The surrounding people were already used to it. Chi, Cetus constellation. The smile on Sai Lei's face disappeared, and her expression became serious. Yes, he is called Duan Mu, and is Ophiuchus constellation's Du Quofu man's subordinate. Does Ding Dang know him? The sun shone into the room. In the small loft, two people laid down. Tang Chou quickly recounted everything that had happened during this period of time. That Tang Tian is truly powerful. He can even kill a gold-ranked martial artist. He is too strong. Tang Tian. Thus, Old Man Fei took out the Sky Martial Werewolf Blood Meridian with a completion rate of 92%. When Tang Tian heard that it was worth 5 billion star coins, Old Man Fei was extremely handsome in his eyes. After a round of praises, Old Man Fei's old face became like a flower. Compared to him, Zhui Yan was much worse in their eyes. He was lazy and slick. Although he was intelligent, he was not reliable. Mo Wu Wei scratched his chin and muttered to himself, so weak, it is too disappointing. Tonight's training will be doubled. Seeing that, Bing suggested, let us do a complete analysis. Pai Pa and Tang Chou, the two of you will be in charge. We will now introduce the progress of every aspect, and see if we can think of a good idea. Tang Tian noticed the change in Bing's expression. He knew what Bing was worried about and consoled him. Uncle, don't worry too much. Although the Ophiuchus army is powerful, but it has been so long, and they have long been annihilated. The current Ophiuchus constellation is not as strong as it was in the past. Bullshit. Mozu scolded. This bit of money is not even enough for us to go in and drink some soup. Do you want us to wash the dishes there to redeem ourselves? This was the duo that sneaked out from Aries constellation. The two of them did not have any experience in traveling. They had reached Cetus constellation with great difficulty, but they did not expect to spend all their star coins. Furthermore, the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation was sealed. Helpless, the two of them could only work to earn a living and wait for the star door to open again. They had not even warmed their star coins, and the asshole had already spent them. The uncle in the restaurant saw Ouyang Shi and Zhui Yan, who was on his shoulder, and shook his head. Big Shi, your brother is too lazy. You should quickly marry a lady and live a good life. Don't be burdened by him. Zhui Yan suddenly let out a miserable scream. No, it's definitely not. There were not many people eating barbecued meat in the morning, but there were many people drinking morning tea. I overestimated him. If I had known, I would have bet 3 rounds. Zhui Yan mumbled, let's sleep for a while more. Mozu was elated, the smile on his face could not be concealed. Big sister is so powerful, but you guys are actually so conservative. As expected, I am the king of gambling kings. Hurry, all of you hand over your money. Just at this time, the others all rushed over. The big boss was here. Regardless of what everyone was busy with, they all rushed over without saying a word. Yen, string all these up. But Tang Chao's report of the battle attracted Tang Tian's attention. Seeing that Bing's words had a hidden meaning, Tang Tian did not object. He turned and looked at Belle. Then let's go to Aquarius constellation. I checked the star map. If we go from Andromeda constellation, we can save a lot of trouble. I only need to enter Orion constellation and then enter the 10 equatorial palace halls. There are many options to enter the 12 ecliptic palace halls from the 10 equatorial palace halls. Tang Tian counted with his fingers. Sai Lei said, it's Ophiuchus constellation. Old rules, the winner will treat us. Since boss won, then let's go to the Haoxing Grand Restaurant. Weapon rack. Tang Tian thought he heard wrongly. Ouyang Shi opened his eyes in a daze, and immediately got up. He shook Zhui Yan, who was beside him. Yen, quickly get up. We have to go to work. Bing's face suddenly changed. Are you sure? The students behind him were all stunned. They all thought they heard wrongly. One of the students gathered his courage and said, Master, he is so weak, what has it got to do with us? Zhui Yan stopped in his tracks and immediately pricked up his ears. Mozu's group. Damn it. This month's allowance is gone. The next time you bet, I'll chop off your hands. He carelessly stabbed and stabbed. Every skewer was extremely accurate. Without spending much energy, the entire basin of meat became skewers. He picked up the basin and walked towards the barbecue room. 5 pieces of meat were skewered on the bamboo skewers, 4 lean and 1 fat. Idiot, I'm a girl. No. Tang Tian shook his head. I wanted to ask Belle about the situation outside. I don't want to stay in Andromeda constellation for too long. I want to go to Southern Cross constellation. Duanmu looked at the densely packed bronze men. He suddenly threw down the sword in his hand and raised both his hands. Sai Lei, Pai Pa, Belle, Old Man Fei and Tang Chou were all here. Wait a minute, where's Uncle Bing? He knows all the weapons, that's too powerful. Tang Tian's face was full of surprise. Such an ability was unimaginable. Tang Tian did not understand. Flowing Wind Group? Why did they attack us? You guys forgot that I have a captive in my hands. Sai Lei laughed. Bang, a big basin was placed in front of Zhui Yan. It was filled with pieces of meat, piling up into a meat mountain. Beside the basin, there was a big pile of bamboo skewers. Hearing that, Tang Tian immediately agreed. He did not have much hope for his brain. Yes, he appears and disappears unpredictably. Who would have thought that he would run to Andromeda constellation? Belle immediately explained. Duanmu is an extremely famous assassin. He is ranked 3222 on the Heaven Road list. He has an innate intuition towards weapons. Any weapon in his hands can unleash astonishing power. Over time, everyone started calling him Weapon Rack. Andromeda constellation. I just thought of it. Do you have anything to say? Mo Wu Wei looked at him. Tang Tian jumped in fright. As though he was avoiding a snake or a scorpion, he dodged Sai Lei's demonic palm. Yes, you're right. Bing had regained his composure. He changed the topic. Why do you have the time to come here? Have you settled the matters in Andromeda City? Bing replied, Trust me. Chapter 405. Tang Tian patted Crane's shoulder with a solemn expression of, I'll leave it all to you, and then left. Ta Dun's heart sank. Everything needed money. Andromeda Constellation had always been a secluded place, and Ta Dun was used to placing his sights on Andromeda Constellation, at most within Northern Sky's 19 continents, but that was the limitation of his thinking. But there was no doubt about his abilities, and he could understand all the analysis. Crane said solemnly, We will hand over all the energy beasts to you, but we have a few requests. At this time, Bing's eyes were looking at his nose, and his nose was looking at his heart. He was somewhat guilty. Tang Tian waved his hand, Good math. Taking a deep breath, Ta Dun regained his composure and said, I never thought that Lupus Constellation would care about the world. Could it be that Mr. Tang Tian is thinking of contending for Heaven's Road? Crane quickly felt the pressure, and the star coins disappeared like water. 3 Spirit City was desperately upgrading, and the consumption was astonishing. Ophiuchus Constellation was like a huge mountain pressing on everyone's hearts, and with 3 Spirit Cities' current strength, it was impossible to defend against Ophiuchus Constellation. Everyone could only hope that it was Duke Huafu Man's idea, and not Ophiuchus Constellation's. Pai Pa and Tang Chou talked a lot, and many new terms, causing Tang Tian to feel dizzy. Tang Chou's words were sharp and often hit the nail on the head, while Pai Pa was neither servile nor overbearing, and argued for what was right, causing the two to quarrel frequently. Ta Dun was surprised, but more than that, he was gratified that his daughter had grown up. When will you be back? Angelina asked with concern. Tang Tian, you can do it. Crane was swift and decisive, and very quickly checked all the storage and star coins, and then requested for Tang Chou and Pai Pa to come up with a strategic analysis report, and at the same time, requested for all parties to submit their applications. That's right. Tang Tian said, You know a lot, have a lot of experience, and are smart. Of course, the most important thing is, who should I pass it to? Thirdly, my side does not wish for a third army to be equipped with Andromeda star treasures other than Lupus Army and Plateau Army. This requires your side to think of a way to sell it. I never thought that Andromeda Constellation would be in danger. Angelina was anxious. I wonder if Master Crane has any good ideas. Was this guy crazy? Orion Constellation was the Leo Constellation's staunch ally, and thus suffered the crazy retaliation of the Honorable Martial Alliance. The Starry Door was always the deciding factor in a war. Controlling the Starry Door meant controlling the flow of the war. Lupus Constellation was most likely just the tip of the iceberg for Tang Tian. However, Tang Tian still tried his best to write down the conclusions that everyone had deduced. None of this was a problem. Then, Tang Tian discovered a terrifying place. Firstly, we want the Lupus Army to be able to change their equipment in the shortest time possible. Atu stood at the side with his hands by his side, not saying a word. 20 billion star coins. There is no problem with the alliance. In such a chaotic world, both of us need to help each other in order to get through this difficult time. What do you need? Please tell me. Angelina said resolutely. He requested to meet with Angelina and Ta Dun. Both of them were surprised. After interacting with each other for a while, they realized that the one in charge was Tang Tian. This time, it was Crane who initiated the meeting. Although the two of them were suspicious, they did not delay and quickly arranged for the meeting. Godlike young lad, you need to focus on training. The road ahead is not smooth. Although Tang Tian and Pai Pa were arguing intensely, there was one thing that they agreed on, and that was that the flames of war would quickly spread. Tang Tian did not forget to sell his strategy for Fornax Constellation and obtained Sai Lei's strong support. Only then could he truly be free. Yes. Crane did not hide anything. We are just passing by Andromeda Constellation. We have other things to settle. As long as Ophiuchus' constellation did not go all out, Crane was not worried about the safety of Three Spirit City. Three Spirit City's manpower was luxurious, and with the help of the Mo family, there should not be any big problems. I do not know yet. Crane shook his head. In the report, it was pointed out that Andromeda constellation would become a muddy swamp with many parties fighting. These starry doors would become the targets of the big powerhouses. Tang Tian was extremely proud of his brilliant idea. It could not be more brilliant. Angelina and Ta Dun were even more suspicious. The two of them took the paper and looked through it, and their faces suddenly became ugly. He threw all these worries to the back of his head. He knew that his brain was not good. Since that was the case, then he would leave the problem to everyone else. Everyone was smart and trustworthy. Crane muttered in his heart, looked at Tang Tian, and asked seriously, "Do you really want me to manage the money? This is a lot of money." Ta Dun did not express his opinion. This kind of analysis was not something anyone could come up with. He was secretly shocked. The power behind Tang Tian was much stronger than he thought. A simple-minded person would only do simple things. "Can I only protect myself?" Angelina asked unwillingly. "Of course. Godlike young lad is a person who does big things. How can I waste my precious time on these small things? So little Crane, I will leave everything to you. To let you carry out your work better, I will give you an assistant. Then, leave the battle to me." After the initial chaos, very quickly he settled everything neatly. Tang Tian's path to Aquarius constellation was discussed by everyone. But no matter what, Duke Huafu Man would not let it go. He would definitely retaliate. And Pai Pa's defensive strategy of Three Spirit City was supported by Old Man Fei. "Want money, want money, want money." After a while, Angelina reacted, blood rushing to her head. She stammered, "How many energy beasts do you have?" The Andromeda star treasure was very important and could not be given to others. As for the position of Andromeda constellation, if he could fully equip Lupus army, this Lupus army could completely defend Andromeda constellation. Tang Tian could not remember. Tang Tian could not help but clench his fists tightly. "Secondly, these energy beasts will be provided to you, and in the future when the treasures are sold, we hope to get 30% of the profits." But he needed to ensure the funds. Since he had agreed to it, then he had to do it well. "No problem. Before the Lupus army is fully equipped, the Andromeda battle gown will definitely not be sold." The paper in his hand was thin, but it caused his hands to tremble. A frail-looking spirit general with an ordinary appearance bowed to Crane. "Master Crane, I am called A2. Please take care of me." It was an appropriate ratio, showing that the other party was not greedy. Angelina agreed without hesitation. "No problem." The martial spirit used to create A2 was very weak, so A2's grade was extremely low. Regardless of whether it was commanding or martial strength, it was the lowest grade. His only use was to travel between Three Spirit City and Crane's location, and was the assistant that Tang Tian gave to Crane. Both parties sat down. Crane did not speak any nonsense, and took out a piece of paper. "I have something here. I wish for your majesty and great general to take a look." "Please speak," Angelina said solemnly. "Everyone's arithmetic is better than you." This caused Crane's prestige to soar, and even Big Sister Sai Lei did not dare to provoke him, and only dared to mutter behind his back, "For a man to be so beautiful, it is truly too much." Little Tang Tang is still the best, although he is slightly ugly, but he is so generous. Crane was surprised. "I am in charge of the money?" Initially, Sai Lei and the rest did not trust Crane, but after that, they realized that Crane was extremely fair, and if he was rejected he would definitely give a reason. Speaking of which, the person who was rejected the most was Bing. Bing, who was embarrassed and angry, ran to Crane to question him, but after half a day, under Crane's sincere gaze and calm explanation, he left dejectedly. Tang Tian felt that he needed someone like a manager to help him, as everyone ran to him to ask for money, causing him to have a headache. This person had to be able to convince everyone, and had to be capable. Anyway, he definitely could not be handed over to Bing, although Bing often bragged that he was in charge of logistics, but his tyrant style definitely made people hate him. "What is it?" Crane asked. Alliance. Angelina revealed an interested look. I hope Master Crane can enlighten me. Suddenly, Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He thought of a good candidate. The three of you will leave? Ta Dun revealed a surprised look. Do not go to Orion Constellation. That was disadvantageous to Tang Tian. He did not have any ambitions for the territory, but in the chaotic lands, to pass through would not be an easy task. The only fortunate thing was, Andromeda Constellation had many star doors, and the range of choices he could make was bigger. Tang Tian felt that the world had suddenly become clear, without all the complicated analysis, without all the headache-inducing choices. What he needed to do was to work hard, and defeat all the enemies. Crane looked at the general with respect. To be able to regain his composure in such a short time, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Crane needed those words. He kept his smile. My method is very simple. Both of us form an alliance. Your Majesty and the great general already have a decision in their hearts. Crane said, both of us, I have many people and my military strength is strong, your side has a wide path to wealth, and your economy is prosperous. If both of us form an alliance, we can protect ourselves. Fourthly, we hope that your side can first provide us with a loan of 20 billion star coins. The money will be deducted from our side's profits from selling star treasures. Angelina was slightly disappointed, but heaved a sigh of relief. It was obvious that the three of them were not after Andromeda Constellation. Thinking about it, Crane was the nephew of the Sagittarius Empress, and Tang Tian had an unfathomable background. Why would he look at a small place like Andromeda Constellation? Ta Dun nodded his head. Don't worry, we also do not wish for such an army to appear. Crane said solemnly, the three of us will leave after a period of time, and only the Lupus army will be stationed here. We will build a stronghold at the Seasons Fields waterway, called the Wolf Stronghold. The Wolf Stronghold is very close to Andromeda City, adding the Great General's Plateau army. I think other people will not dare to start a war. I suggest to your Majesty to move all the people from the other cities of Andromeda Constellation to the vicinity of Andromeda City. According to our calculations, Andromeda Constellation will be affected by the flames of war very soon. Pai Pa was a good choice, but she was young, had a good temper, and had low prestige. Just Sai Lei alone was enough to control her. I am really glad I have everyone. Crane revealed a warm smile. Great General thinks too highly of us. We are just a small broken boat. It is already good enough to defend Lupus Constellation. Crane watched as Tang Tian's figure disappeared into the distance. After a long while, his mouth suddenly blossomed into a smile. He stretched his body, stood up and muttered to himself, then I will help you for 3 years. Oh, 3 years. The contract will be over. Maybe Tang Tian purposely showed it to outsiders, to confuse them. Everyone stared at Tang Tian. Their gazes were all green, causing Tang Tian to have goosebumps all over his body. Both Angelina and Ta Dun were dumbfounded by what they saw. The contents on the paper were extracted from Tang Chou and Pai Pa's report, mainly about the current situation and the situation that Andromeda Constellation might face. The two of them were not optimistic about Andromeda Constellation's situation. There were many star doors in Andromeda Constellation. This point was previously their advantage in business, but now, it had become the key point for all parties to fight over. Andromeda Constellation had many star doors, especially the star door that led to Orion Constellation, which had a high possibility of being affected, so they needed to build a stronghold at the Seasons Fields waterway. Not only could it protect the waterway, it could also help Angelina defend Andromeda City. Chapter 406. When Lu Zhongguang heard this, there was nothing he could do. Your Excellency is right. The official could not help but become excited. Many people are praising Your Majesty, saying that if these 24 new cities can be built, then Andromeda Constellation will become a small Aquarius constellation. Xiao said in a deep voice, no, the Fairy Orion Stargate is a twin stargate, it can't be closed. Old Man Fei's face was anxious. Boss, no matter how uncomfortable it is, you must clench your teeth and endure it. Adrian pondered for a moment. This man has a strong insight into the situation. He's a first-rate strategist. Tang Tian was completely unaware that Crane's move had turned the entire Andromeda constellation upside down, as he was cultivating with all his might. Crane? The nephew of the legendary Sagittarius Heavenly Queen? Lu Zhongguang was stunned. That night, he had a deep impression of Tang Tian, but he did not have much of an impression of Crane, and only remembered that he looked good. The other type was the solitary star door, which meant that the star power of one constellation was projected to another constellation to form a star door. Single-life star doors could be closed by adjusting the star power. For example, the star door from Cetus constellation to Lupus constellation was a single-life star door. The single-life starry door required the constellation that projected the starry door to be stronger than the constellation being projected, only then could it form a starry door. However, he did not slack off in his cultivation because of this. He felt that there were too many things that he needed to cultivate. For example, the 1000-cleave demonic hand was a martial technique used for tangling. It was extremely effective in a deadlock, but it lacked a killing move. For example, he felt that he did not have a good grasp of the rhythm of hand-to-hand combat. He still felt that his martial soul was progressing slowly. If his intuition could become stronger, he would definitely be able to reach the next level. Also, he needed to improve his Qing Gong Axiu, and Lu Zhongguang looked at each other. Among the three, the one who attracted the most attention was Tang Tian, who was known as the godlike young man and the great light whetstone. Next was the hot-tempered and combative spear genius Ling Su. In recent years, there hadn't been anyone with a strong spear technique. Ling Su was highly praised by many spear users. Compared to them, Crane was undoubtedly the most lackluster, but everyone's gazes landed on the fact that he was the nephew of Sagittarius Empress. Crane could not help but smile. 3 Spirits City, Blood Meridian's laboratory. Most people would unknowingly ignore Crane. During this period of hard training, his essence, qi, and spirit had reached an unprecedented height. He decided to make another trip to 3 Spirit City because of the 92% completed Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridians. Old Man Fei insisted that only when Tang Tian's essence and spirit reached its peak would he be able to absorb the drop of blood meridians, so he dragged it till now. How amazing! His subordinates kept quiet out of fear, not even daring to breathe loudly. There were 2 types of star doors. One was the twin star door, which was formed by the fusion of the star power of 2 constellations. The star power surrounding the star door had already undergone a qualitative change and was no longer controlled by the 2 constellations. Therefore, the twin star gate could not be closed. Because the star power emitted by the constellation was not constant, but showed periodic changes. Therefore, these star power belts were not fixed. As time passed, their positions would shift. Often, the waterways would be used for hundreds of years before gradually disappearing. After hundreds of years, they would reappear. What are they trying to do? Adrian muttered. What a powerful woman. His astonishing intuition, coupled with the 1000-cleave demonic hand, allowed him to display unparalleled power. Extremely enthusiastic. The official said excitedly, now all the families with some scale are all migrating towards Fairy City. The energy concentration around Fairy City is much higher than other places. The previous master did not allow a large number of people to enter, but Her Majesty is benevolent, allowing everyone to come. Everyone is willing to sell their pots and pans to come. Xiao took off his earmuffs. His expression was weird. It's Crane. Yesterday, Crane and Angelina Tadun met. The contents of the meeting are not clear, but it was said that after Crane left, Angelina and Tadun did not sleep the entire night and were in an intense discussion. Early the next morning, Angelina announced the fairy plan. The current top-grade carriage, the One Carriage One World Aquarius Treasure Carriage, was also from Aquarius constellation. For Angelina to announce the fairy plan, it meant that she had already decided to give up on the Android Orion star door. Aquarius martial artists never competed with other martial artists in martial techniques, they only competed with others in terms of money. Lepus constellation silver treasure, trembling ear. What is Angelina thinking? Is this woman crazy? Don't tell me she doesn't want the other star doors? What is she trying to do? Fornax Constellation's early preparations, Sky Marshal Wolf Academy's funds, 3 Spirit Cities upgrade, the 2 big laboratories funds, the construction of the Wolf Stronghold. Can we close the star door? Lu Zhongguang could not help but ask. Facing the 2 dumbstruck people, Crane smiled and floated away. A strong sense of urgency rose in his heart. Xiao and Lu Zhongguang's face turned ugly. The fairy plan had spread like wildfire, and they immediately felt that something was wrong. The star door that connected Orion Constellation to Andromeda Constellation was not in Fairy City. Crane was surprised by Angelina's big move. Angelina's guts were much bigger than what he had imagined. The servant laughed. "Master must be joking. Why are you not willing?" Her Majesty said, "It is only valid for 3 months. After 3 months, even if you want to come, you won't be able to come." Crane had to admit Angelina's move was absolutely beautiful. With the fairy plan and the astonishing number of energy beasts in her hands, Crane believed that she would definitely tie the local powerhouses to her war chariot. In the blink of an eye, 20 billion star coins flowed out of his hands like water. Crane secretly nodded his head. Angelina had used benefits to ingeniously gather the essence of Andromeda Constellation to Fairy City. It was much more brilliant than what he had thought. Angelina suddenly retracted the entire constellation and cupped her hands to give up the star door. It was definitely not a logical arrangement. But after thinking about it carefully, Adrian realized the beauty of the move. Crane muttered, "If this plan can be completed, Andromeda Constellation's future days will be much better." In a few more months, the second batch of Andromeda battle robes would be completed, the Wolf Stronghold would be built, and they would once again set off. And at that time, what awaited them in front of them would not be a peaceful journey, but a chaotic world filled with the flames of war. Such a terrifying speed of spending money caused him to be shocked, but also filled him with anticipation and curiosity. With the 20 billion invested, when they bear fruit, it would definitely cause everyone to be shocked. Then what's everyone's reaction? Adrian revealed a bitter smile. The expert behind the young lady is truly powerful. This time, Andromeda Constellation's situation has become confusing. The star door was the node of Heaven's road, so the fight over the star door was forever the most cruel. This astonishing number caused Angelina and Ta Dun to be immediately petrified, completely scared silly. They had already made sufficient estimations of the energy beasts in Tang Tian's hands, but they never thought that the number would exceed by so much. He felt that his entire body was filled with weaknesses. How could he not work hard? Will there be people who are not willing? Crane asked. With Andromeda Constellation's current weak strength, it was extremely difficult to defend the star door. Taking the initiative to retract the star door could concentrate their strength and preserve Andromeda Constellation's strength. And Andromeda City was where the essence of the entire Andromeda Constellation was. In the dream world of the Indigo Mirror Ocean, his 1,000-cleave demonic hand had successfully broken through to the Grandmaster level. The last sentence that 1,000-hand Devil Lord said before disappearing gave Tang Tian a huge help. When he started to close his eyes to train in the 1,000-cleave demonic hand, he improved at a godly speed. To Orion Constellation, this was not good news. The Honorable Martial Alliance that wanted to find trouble with Orion Constellation would definitely be like a shark that smelled blood and pounce crazily. Yes. Go and investigate. Wu Xia clenched his teeth. Who exactly came up with the idea? Such a big plan is definitely not something that a little girl like her can come up with. If they did not wish for the star door to be lost, that meant that they had to send an army to be stationed there. It was the same for the other constellations where the star door was. The fight for the star door would definitely cause the regions to become extremely chaotic. Adrian was also surprised. But the Empress did not interfere much in the Battle of Lupus Constellation. It could be seen that this nephew of hers was not to her liking, and the degree of importance she placed on him was very limited. 5,600 of them. He took out 2 silver ear muffs that were shaped like rabbit ears, and wore them on his ears, causing the silver rabbit ears to tremble slightly. The battles along the way would definitely not be easy. Her Majesty has officially announced the Andromeda Plan and is prepared to build a new city chain with Andromeda City as the core. Her Majesty is prepared to build 24 satellite cities. The official respectfully reported to Crane. His expression was filled with excitement. To the turbulent Andromeda constellation, Angelina's Andromeda Plan was undoubtedly a stimulant. Aquarius constellation, also known as Aquarius constellation, was one of the 12 ecliptic palaces and was the constellation with the most business atmosphere. Because of the Aquarius constellation's star treasures, martial cabinets, silver Aquarius cabinets were the most common type of star treasures. At the start, the Aquarius martial artists were all in charge of transporting and delivering goods. A drop of fresh blood was injected into Tang Tian's body. All right, I got it. Tang Tian laughed, revealing his snow-white teeth. Let's begin. Wu Xia's hysterical roar reverberated in the room, without any of his usual elegance. Angelina's Andromeda Plan had completely messed up his plans. Other than the star door, Heaven's Road had many waterways. The constellations all emitted star power, and some of the star power between the constellations would interweave to form unique star power belts. These star power belts were artificially fixed and became waterways. For example, the Seasons Fields waterway was one of them. On the second day, he heard of Angelina's big movements and called for the Manners official to question him. Probably realizing that his last sentence was somewhat frivolous, the official immediately retracted his smile. Furthermore, Master, think about it, now that it is so chaotic, at least Andromeda City has the Great General's Plateau Army, and their safety can be guaranteed. In this chaotic world, people's lives are like dogs, and all those old fellows, which one of them are not experienced? Even the little ones can see it, so how can they not see it? As for living, Andromeda City has the best conditions in Andromeda constellation with many star doors. It is not difficult to make a living. The Andromeda Plan had caused a huge uproar, and under such a background, the establishment of the Wolf Stronghold did not attract any attention. The 20 billion star coins also made Crane heave a sigh of relief. Ashio's expression changed. There's news. To suddenly hear that the Andromeda Plan was actually related to Crane, everyone was surprised. Chapter 407. Bing's face was gloomy, but he did not say anything. He was angry at himself. He felt that the Southern Cross Army had landed in his hands and was actually being suppressed by Ophiuchus constellation. That was too humiliating. Hua Fu Man's mouth surfaced a teasing smile. Do we need you to mobilize the army? Just send one person to settle it. Shi Lin stood rooted to the ground, dumbstruck. Holding on to the information obtained from Duan Mu, the group started to gather. They needed to find useful information, which was Pai Pa's specialty. Even Tang Chou could not compare to her. Shi Lin's eyes flashed a look of joy. His father was extremely stubborn. Once he made a promise, he would definitely fulfill it, so he asked, "Can we mobilize the army?" Is that so? Hua Fu Man's face suddenly revealed a teasing smile, but his tone was extremely cold. Then do you know how many gold-ranked martial artists have died in Duan Mu's hands? Then let's use 3 Spirit City to train Shi Lin's character. Shi Lin took a deep breath, dispelling all the negative emotions. His gaze regained its calmness and said, like father said, with Duan Mu's strength, he is unable to retreat. 3 Spirit City is definitely much stronger than what we expected. If Duan Mu is killed, it is fine, but if he is not, then 3 Spirit City most likely knows of our existence. That means there is no turning back for both sides. Playboy's expression also became serious. Since young, as long as you are serious, there is nothing you cannot do. Good. I will give it all to you. I will bet everything on you. Not a single star coin is left. You must win. Shi Lin was startled, then his face changed and he stuttered. He can kill gold-ranked martial artists? He did not return? Hua Fu Man asked. His body was still upright, his military uniform neat. Hua Fu Man was expressionless. Continue. From the current situation, the one who wants to make a move on us is Hua Fu Man, and not Ophiuchus constellation. Pai Pa's words made everyone heave a sigh of relief. If I were to say the old man is being unreasonable, directly sending an army, isn't it as easy as killing an ant? Playboy shrugged. Why must he do this? 3 Spirit City, interrogation room. What? Playboy thought he had misheard. Seeing that Lin had calmed down, Hoffman's eyes flashed with a tinge of approval. Then analyze it now. Tang Cho said, if this assumption is true, then the possibility of Hoffman mobilizing his army is very low. In this battle, you and I are the same. We can only win and not lose. All right. Lin nodded heavily. He didn't come back. The long-robed young man braced himself and replied. He then mustered up his courage and said, Father, we have so many powerful experts, we can send other experts over. This Duanmu is only ranked 3222 on the heavenly board, we have other martial artists that are stronger than him. It's not surprising that you know. Lin said slowly. In any constellation, using an army would definitely not be seen as a private action. If Hoffman did not want to cause misunderstandings, he would definitely not use his army. Everyone's spirits rose. It was rare to see a ponytailed girl like her, who was always full of energy and was always full of energy. Everyone knew that for the name list, Belle had definitely put in a lot of effort. Hoffman relaxed his eyebrows, his expression regaining his calmness. Lin, what do you think is strong? Lin stared at Playboy. You guys don't have to care about me, I will rest on the sofa for a while. Belle walked to the sofa in the corner and curled up her body like a cat, and very quickly fell asleep. Playboy was like a deflated balloon. All right, what do you want? Lin was not discouraged, he knew it was his father's test. Only by passing this test could he obtain his father's true approval. The power that Ophiuchus constellation represented was too strong, and was not something that the current 3 Spirits City could defend against. If it was just Hoffman's personal intention, then it would be much easier. The feeling of being suppressed by the enemy of the past was truly terrible. Lin was moved, but he did not say anything, he only patted his brother's shoulder, the fighting intent in his chest rising. Although he had countless of reasons to tell himself he had only been tormented for a few years, and how long Ophiuchus constellation had been in operation for. 5. Hoffman raised his hand, the ridicule on his face disappeared, and what replaced it was the cold and merciless look of a poisonous snake. Are you surprised? Never jump to conclusions on things that you are not familiar with. The world is much bigger than you can imagine. Can't figure it out? Hee. Some people have 10% of their strength but can only unleash 70 to 80%, and some other people with 80% of their strength in his hands can unleash 120% of their strength. Only Tang Cho sensed Bing's strangeness. The others did not understand the grievances between Southern Cross constellation and Ophiuchus constellation, and they were unable to link the war 10,000 years ago with Bing and Ophiuchus constellation. In their eyes, Ophiuchus constellation was just a declining equatorial Pallas Hall constellation, although it was once an ecliptic Pallas Hall constellation, but that was too far away. That's right. Leave it to us. Sai Lei could not help but say gently, and then snorted, with this name list, if I am still defeated by others, I will buy a piece of tofu and kill myself. Duan Mu, who was in front of her, was very cooperative, and spilled out everything he knew. Once Duan Mu saw the situation clearly, he would not hesitate at all. When would Ophiuchus constellation be able to ride on his neck and strut around? Father naturally has his own considerations. Lin said, this time I came to find you, hoping to obtain your support. Lin was outstanding in all aspects, but he was too gentle and lacked initiative. The current His Majesty was ambitious, and it was time for him to forge ahead. With such a gentle temperament, how could he obtain the Majesty's favor? Belle, quickly go and rest, leave it to us. Out of the few, the one most likely to take over his position was Lin. This is the name list of martial artists that Lin can use. Belle's face could not hide her fatigue, her voice was hoarse and dry. Playboy was speechless, his big brother's words he did not even have the leeway to refute. That's true. Playboy nodded his head. How many do you want? Playboy saw the cold glint in his big brother's eyes. and knew that his big brother was serious this time. But he was still unhappy. Hua Fu Man's last sentence was not courteous at all. Initially, Sai Lei had prepared many methods, but she did not even use a single one, causing her to be disappointed. Only through the tempering of iron and blood could he truly mature. Shi Lin quickly obtained the information regarding Three-Spirit City. Oh. Shi Lin's expression was calm as he spat out the two words. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, only Bing lowered his head, the fists on his hands clenched tightly. His father frowned, the long-robed young man tactfully kept his mouth shut, but he did not feel that he said anything wrong. He did not understand why his father would place so much importance on Duanmu. Could it be that his father was getting old and was starting to remember old friendships? Everyone started talking. To deal with Hua Fu Man, the Under the Clouds Alliance's power was mobilized, and they desperately gathered information. The stronger the person, the more they are immersed in martial arts, and are not willing to use their brains, because they do not need it. If a person is used to using martial arts to solve problems, do you think that when he encounters a problem that cannot be solved with martial arts, he will use his brain? Naive. Hua Fu Man stood up. These kinds of people are only pretending to be strong. A simple scheme can send him to his grave. On the Heaven Road list, how many gold-ranked martial artists have died from schemes? Duanmu's strength is not comparable to a gold-ranked martial artist, but he has sufficient patience, a calm mind, and is able to make decisive judgments, and such a person, as long as he is strong, he can be stronger than others. You must be a person who uses his brain, Shi Lin. He did not need a reason to be unhappy. All of your money. Shi Lin hit the nail on the head. This test was given to me by my father. I must complete it beautifully. Don't worry about your money. If I pass the test, you will be able to earn back 10 times of the money. If I don't pass, the money you have now is not yours. Just at this time, Belle barged in, and everyone's gaze turned to look at her. You don't have to say such words. Shi Lin said calmly, you and I have the same interests. If the one taking over is not me, who do you think will let you off? Oh, my big brother, did I hear wrongly? Playboy's expression was exaggerated, and said in an even more exaggerated tone, my big brother actually needs the support of a trash like me. He bit his lips tightly and did not say a word. They have imposed martial law, and it is even stricter than before. Playboy glanced at the report and did not care. Seems like they know you are going to make a move. Hua Fu Man is going to make a move on us. Belle said simply, his eldest son Shi Lin is making a move. Yes, father. Shi Lin's red and green face regained its calmness. Strong is hard to define, but the ranking on the Heaven Road list should explain some things. Shi Lin was unconvinced. Very good. Hua Fu Man nodded his head. You handle this matter. I don't care what methods you use. If you can solve Three-Spirit City perfectly, then I will suggest to the Majesty and let you take charge. Money. Shi Lin said, other than money, what else do you have? I am still not strong enough. Hua Fu Man looked at Shi Lin's spirited departure, his eyes revealing a look of gratification. Since there is no turning back, then there is no need for us to cover up. Shi Lin's voice was like the winter wind, filled with killing intent, his white palms slashed in the air. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound, we will take down Three-Spirit City. Belle was no longer the same as before. With sufficient funds, her information network was expanding at an astonishing speed. She rarely went to the front stage, and with Pai Pa's suggestion, she established an information organization called Under Clouds Alliance. On the surface, the Under Clouds Alliance looked like an ordinary information organization, selling information. No one knew that the Under Clouds Alliance was actually working for Three-Spirit City. Chapter 408. Your Highness is right. Wuxia said, Lupus Constellation has discovered a waterway that leads to this place. It is the ancient Season Fields waterway. Angelina knows that she is not strong enough, so she formed an alliance with Tang Tian and gave him all the land near the waterway. Tang Tian built a wolf stronghold there. If we do not get rid of Tang Tian first, Once they find out that we are secretly controlling Angelina, it will definitely attract the attention of Orion Constellation." Everyone laughed out loud. Everyone's expression turned cold as they stood up straight. Wuxia was also excited. Ursa Major Constellation had been waiting for such an opportunity for too long. But he suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, "Leo Constellation's counterattack will definitely be fierce." But Wuxia still felt uneasy. Yen too laughed and sat down. Master Wu's mouth can really turn a dead person into a living person. No wonder so many socialites are reluctant to leave Master Wu and are not willing to submit to him. It makes me envious. Wuxia said with a straight face, "Because your highness did not snatch my rice bowl. Otherwise, once your highness appears, all the beauties in the world will enter your highness' palace. Wouldn't we be tormented every day and wish we were dead? Driving wolves to swallow tigers?" Wuxia understood immediately. He frowned. What are they trying to do? His strength was also extremely strong. Yen Tu said, "The Honorable Martial Alliance's request is simple. They hope that we can occupy more star doors in Andromeda Constellation. It would be best if we can control Andromeda Constellation." "That's right." Yen Tu nodded. "Yes, they have indeed left." Gurua's eyes lit up with a glimmer of light. He was somewhat excited. Andromeda Orion's star door had many battles. Many unknown martial artists suddenly appeared near the star door and engaged in intense battles with the Orion Constellation martial artists. It was said that the scene was extremely tragic, with corpses everywhere. Adrian's departure definitely has something to do with this. Then what about our mission this time? Wuxia did not dwell on this question. He believed that with His Majesty's decision, he would definitely not make a mistake. Andromeda Constellation was nothing to him. Ursa Major Constellation was a tyrant that could challenge the Equatorial Palace Hall constellations. Northern Sky Constellation? In his eyes, that was nothing. As far as he was concerned, this matter was a piece of cake and did not require much effort. Wuxia's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly stood up and walked towards the door. Don't be fooled by His Highness' amiable tone, as if he didn't care about anything. However, Wuxia knew that His Highness placed great importance on etiquette. If he were to overstep his boundaries, he would be displeased. "What's in it for us?" Wuxia went straight to the point. "Lupus Constellation?" Yen Tu frowned. "Are you talking about Tang Tian's Lupus Constellation?" Wuxia's face darkened. Logically speaking, there was nothing wrong with Gurua's guess. Compared to the Andromeda treasure, the Andromeda Orion constellation was 100 times more important. If the Stargate were to fall into the hands of the Honorable Martial Alliance, the consequences would be catastrophic. "Lord Wu, you don't have to be so polite." The young man in the middle of the trio grinned. His skin was dark brown, and his appearance was simple and honest. He looked like a strong brown bear. He was the future successor of Ursa Major Constellation Master, Yen Tuesday. They left. Wuxia couldn't believe it. Not to mention kidnapping Tang Tian, even if they were to attack and occupy the entire Andromeda constellation, he would not hesitate. Furthermore, His Highness Yen Tu was hailed as the most outstanding Ursa Major martial artist of the younger generation. His Majesty also had high hopes for him. After that, they will attack Orion constellation fiercely from another direction. Yen Tu said, "This wave of attack will be extremely intense. They have the confidence to threaten the Orion constellation palace in a short period of time. At that time, the armies guarding the Stargate will definitely rush over to help. When the Stargate is opened, we can take advantage of it." Wuxia said calmly. He was instantly filled with confidence. "Why are you thanking me?" Yen Tu was surprised. They are indeed extremely strong. Wuxia did not hide anything. If we can bring them under our command, our Ursa Major constellation's power will definitely increase exponentially. Wuxia then remembered that there were two people beside His Highness. He could not help but sigh. He actually did not notice them at all. Yen Tu laughed. "I have finally experienced Master Wu's eloquence. Tang Tian's power is still extremely strong. The people beside him." Wuxia had some doubts. Wuxia's body trembled. He finally knew why His Highness agreed to it. It was a condition that he could not reject. Ursa Major Constellation was one of the 5 polar domains. With His Highness's hard work, Ursa Major Constellation's power was not inferior to any equatorial Palace Hall constellation. But the current Ursa Major Constellation had already developed to its peak and could not advance any further. When everyone heard that, they immediately retreated. There was no one left in the room. Wuxia was startled. Then, Wuxia thought about a rumor. His heart moved, and he was suddenly filled with anticipation. The Honorable Martial Alliance has no interest in Orion Constellation. Yen Tu licked his lips and said excitedly, "As long as we take down Orion Constellation, we can unite Ursa Major Constellation, Andromeda Constellation, and Orion Constellation to form a huge constellation. This constellation can make us the strongest equatorial Palace Hall constellation." Wuxia nodded his head. This subordinate is only confident about this. "Thank you, Your Highness." Wuxia calmed down from the shock. His mind was working quickly. He understood His Highness very well. To be able to make His Highness believe in them, the Honorable Martial Alliance must have a killing move. While we fight for the Starry Door, we can secretly control Andromeda Constellation. Yen Tu said, "We can't send out our army. That will alert them." Yen Tu heard and nodded. "I think Master Wu already has a good plan." The 5 Bears martial artists were the strongest martial artists of Ursa Major Constellation. There were only 7 of them. They were the elites of His Highness. They rarely showed themselves and were extremely mysterious. Every one of them had unfathomable strength. Furthermore, they were equipped with top-grade treasures. Wuxia's doubts immediately disappeared. He laughed. "Then there's no problem." Yen Tu took a deep breath and spat out 3 words, "Orion Constellation." Yen Tu said slowly, "The Honorable Martial Alliance is here." Wuxia did not dare to be disrespectful. Yen Tu looked simple and honest, but he was actually shrewd and decisive. If he was deceived by his appearance, he would not even know how to write death. Yen Tu said, "The Honorable Martial Alliance planned to send many people to fight for the Starry Door, but they failed. In this period of time, we need to control Andromeda Constellation." To rise to the ranks of the 10 equatorial palace halls was an ambition that His Highness had never revealed before. But the true higher-ups all knew about it. Wuxia was startled. His face changed. He could not help but ask, could it be that His Highness has decided to pick a side? This is not the right time. He was a smooth talker. He knew when to say what to say. There were 3 people standing at the door. Wuxia could not believe it. He exclaimed, "How is that possible? Orion Constellation cannot be compared to Leo Constellation. But in the 10 equatorial palace halls, it is one of the strongest constellations. How can the Honorable Martial Alliance take it down so easily?" He immediately said respectfully, "Your Highness, please come in. His Highness is too much. It is just a small matter in Andromeda Constellation. But your subordinate is feeling uneasy. Seeing that Your Highness is here, my heart is at ease." Suddenly, a subordinate rushed in and whispered into Wuxia's ear. Hunter Adrian and his group suddenly bade farewell to Angelina. The battle between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation had just begun. To hastily join the battle would not be beneficial. Yen Tu's eyes were filled with praise. He knew of Wuxia's reputation, but he did not deal with Wuxia directly. Wuxia's sensitivity made him very satisfied. "We just need to get rid of Tang Tian." Wuxia's eyes flashed with a trace of fierceness. He said coldly, "As long as we get rid of Tang Tin, Lupus Constellation is nothing to fear. If we can kidnap Tang Tian, that would be even better. His Lupus army is an elite army." "That's good." Yen Tu heaved a sigh of relief. Wuxia bowed respectfully, "Your Highness." As expected of a king bear martial artist. His chi was concealed so well. Wuxia nodded his head. "If that is the case, we only need to control Angelina. Ta Dun is Angelina's father. If his daughter falls into our hands, he will definitely compromise." Adrian's urgent action to snatch the star door was reasonable no matter how one looked at it. From His Highness's solemn expression, Wuxia knew that the incident this time was no small matter. Yen Tu suddenly waved his hand. Other than Master Wu, the rest can retreat. All right, Yen Tu said, then we will kidnap him. Adrian had the title of hunter. Other than having the eyes of a hunter, it also meant that he had the cunning and patience of a hunter. He had too many unbelievable achievements. Even the confident Wu Xia could not help but be cautious. Yen Tu smiled. His Majesty said that Master Wu is worthy to be entrusted with important matters. It is indeed true. We do not intend to become an ally of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Leo Constellation? Yen Tu snorted. Do they have the energy to care about us? Orion Constellation is behind Leo Constellation. If the Honorable Martial Alliance does not take the opportunity to attack, then they are not the Honorable Martial Alliance. Wu Xia shook his head. We need to first get rid of the people from Lupus Constellation. After a long period of peace, His Majesty could only suppress his own ambitions. His expression turned solemn and said, I am here because there is a change in the plan. Yen Tu was surprised. To be able to be regarded as an elite army by Master Wu, they must be extraordinary. Yen Tu laughed. Master Wu, do not worry. Father knows that this is an important matter. He has sent 2 of his King Bear martial artists to help. I did not believe it either. Yen Tu said, but they showed Father something and he believed it. Our previous plan was to snatch the treasures of the androids. But Angelina's androids plan made us very passive. But to us, it is also an opportunity. If there was such a good opportunity to swallow Orion Constellation, how could His Majesty reject it? Not only His Majesty could not reject it, the entire Ursa Major constellation could not reject it. Wu Xia smelled a conspiracy, and then... Chapter 409. Ding ding ding. Without thinking, Tang Tian was the first to rush out. The other members were not slow either, following closely behind, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Such a high degree of completion was rarely seen in the market, and almost never circulated in the market. To any powerhouse, a drop of such a blood meridian was worth more than a gold-ranked treasure. Sai Lei's face was ashen, his eyes spewing fire. Not at all, not at all. Tang Tian immediately said, just say it, I'll do it. There was also a black-robed assassin, a concealed weapons grandmaster. Someone shouted, and everyone could not help but feel the same. Duan Mu, who was tied up, said he was tied up tightly, but his mouth was not stuffed with a piece of cloth. Sai Lei was worried that he would be rescued by the enemy, and that would be a huge problem. Duan Mu was strong, and if he joined the enemy's camp, it would be a huge threat to them. Another martial artist had a sawtooth blade enveloped in green light. It was extremely sharp, the speed of the sword was extremely fast. The moment the sword aura touched the bronze figure, it was like cutting tofu. Without any obstruction, it was cut in half. Kill! Mozu was confident in the first tactic. He did not believe that anyone would choose to not dodge such a violent attack, but to block it. Before Wang Xian could finish, a shrill alarm sounded out from outside. The 4 of them are gold-ranked martial artists. Mozu and Mo Wu Wei roared at the same time. Wang Xian secretly nodded his head. There was no arrogance. He did not have the arrogance of a young genius. Everyone's face changed. Even for Onyx Soul, an organization that relied on blood meridians, such a blood meridian was not something an ordinary person could obtain. If it was converted into contribution points, it would be an astronomical figure. But very quickly, everyone's face changed. Duan Mu's words caused the surrounding mechanical engineers to reveal a look of realization. When Tang Tian rushed out, the intense battle immediately entered his vision. The people who were following closely behind all had a change of expression. Are you a gold-ranked martial artist? Sai Lei suddenly turned his head and asked. They were like withered twigs, crushing all the mechanisms along the way. All the students roared at the same time. Damn it! Wang Xian's gaze fell on Tang Tian. This was the first time he met the true owner of this base. Yes, many of them are very strange and unfamiliar. I don't know how to describe them. Tang Tian nodded repeatedly. But in this period of time, he had gradually assimilated into Three Spirit City and started to like it. Everyone could do what they wanted to do, and there was a lot of communication between them. Although everyone's temperament was very strange, they would often bang the table and quarrel with each other, and it was not uncommon for them to start a fight. He had even seen a few female bloodline specialists fight with each other, but there was no complicated power struggle, no complicated human relationships. You didn't need to worry about offending anyone, and you didn't need to worry about being retaliated against if you pointed out the other party's mistakes. No. Duan Mu shook his head. Mo Ziyu and Mo Wu Wei's teams had already entered the designated area. In a battle, the defending side would always have a sufficient advantage in terms of geography. The areas where the two squads were located had been carefully set up. They could coordinate with each other and work together to seal off the entrances to the base. He released the bowstring, and the red light in his hand turned into a red light arrow, accurately hitting a nest umbrella in the air. Mo Ziyu's face changed. The 4 gold-ranked martial artists were not afraid. The bald-headed martial artist held onto the bronze rod and rushed forward. Meanwhile, the martial artist with the sawtooth blade rushed toward the second class. This is Wang Xian, an experienced blood meridian specialist. Old Man Fei introduced to Tang Tian. He used to be the person in charge of Onyx Soul, but a pity he offended the people above, and no one dared to hire him anymore. I just happened to pull him over. Then let us begin. The air rippled like water, these seemingly weak and transparent ripples. When the 30 powerful golden blade auras clashed with them, they were unable to move an inch. But the 4 of them were so strong, it was simply inconceivable. If it was just one of them, she might still have a chance. But with the 4 of them working together, they were not their match. The Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridian is a rare ancient blood meridian, and there is very little information left. Wang Xian's expression was calm and collected, but ever since we successfully refined this drop of blood meridian, our research on it has increased greatly. We have carefully collected information on the battles of the martial artists who possess the Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridian, and we have also researched on its side branch blood meridians, and finally obtained some possible guesses. Today, we need Boss to cooperate with us, and it might be more difficult. The bald-headed martial artist at the front held onto a thick and sturdy bronze rod. The bronze rod was circulating with light aura. One look and one could tell that it was a star treasure. He was extremely brave and fierce. After breaking through the city wall, he immediately jumped into the sea of bronze men. There weren't many people on the other side. There were only 4 of them, but every single one of them was extraordinarily powerful. The mechanism that captured Duan Mu previously was now full of flaws. The coordination between these people was not considered good, but every single one of them was extremely strong. Any tiny flaw in their eyes would immediately be used. The bald-headed big man's body swayed, his face flushed red as though he was drunk. The bronze rod in his hand lit up with a dazzling light aura. Upon touching the bronze men, they all broke into pieces. "Look, it's our mechanical army." Suddenly someone shouted out in surprise, causing everyone to be roused. But the unbelievable thing actually happened right in front of their eyes. Bang! Even if it was worth 5 billion, or even more. No wonder they were all so powerful. They were all gold-ranked martial artists. In any powerhouse, gold-ranked martial artists were the strongest power. They were the pinnacle of the pyramid of martial artists, and were the goal that countless people yearned for in their dreams. The fingers that pulled the bowstring lit up with red light spots the size of soybeans. "Come over here." Old Man Fei immediately said, "We have a specialized training to detect blood meridians." Many blood meridians, when they first start to be absorbed, are often neglected by people. Just like how birds can fly, that is their innate ability. But we do not understand how it feels to be able to fly. When there is a similar feeling but it is not strong enough, we tend to ignore it. In the past, these types of content usually required the martial artist to experience it themselves. In the past, There would often be martial artists who, after absorbing blood meridians, would only trigger the ability of the blood meridians after 10 years. But now, this type of research is already the domain of us blood meridian specialists. So young, he hid behind the two of them, the concealed weapon in his hand appearing and disappearing like a ghost. His concealed weapon did not have any light aura, and was silent. In such a chaotic environment, it was hard to defend against it. It's a weird feeling. Tang Tian did not know how to describe his own body's feeling. Team A number 1 battle tactic, get ready. Wang Xian laughed, his heart was filled with emotions. In the past when he was an Onyx Soul, it was extremely difficult for someone like Old Man Fei to even meet him, much less recruit him. If not for the fact that he was in dire straits, he would definitely not accept it. Bang! 10 thick light auras, with a terrifying power, shot out angrily. Wang Xian made a please gesture and led Tang Tian to the side of the equipment. Pai Pa immediately comforted her. The opponent is not easy to deal with, he will definitely have some tricks up his sleeves. How can we predict everything? The nest umbrella suddenly turned into a ball of flames. Please follow me. How is it? How is it? Old Man Fei asked anxiously, his face filled with anticipation. This drop of 92% complete heavenly martial werewolf blood meridian was the most complete ancient blood meridian they had ever refined. Tang Tian opened his eyes. Chi chi chi. Wang Xian praised in his heart, to be able to have such a foundation at such a young age, even if the boss was placed in Onyx Soul, he would definitely be a genius. Kill! Belle bit her lips, her face extremely gloomy. Floating fingers came one after another, the bald martial artist's face revealed a look of disdain. Sai Lei's face changed, Duan Mu's strength was already strong enough to her, but he was not even a gold-ranked martial artist. Such an expert, just one was enough to make them choke, but there were actually 4 of them. A tall and slender archer stood on the city wall, his hands holding onto a bow, pulling the bowstring, but there was no arrow on the bowstring. A white-haired but extremely sturdy old man was waiting for everyone in the room. He was dressed in a tight-fitting martial artist's uniform and was brimming with energy. It was actually a rather good place, and the atmosphere was much better than Onyx Soul. The bald martial artist's face was sinister, the bronze rod in his hand emitting a bright light aura. Facing the 30 incoming golden blade auras, he swept them with a tyrannical aura. Under Old Man Fei's lead, everyone came to a room that looked like a training room. Inside it were many different types of equipment. The archer's technique was extremely fast. The red light arrows were like rain. In the blink of an eye, the nest umbrella in the sky became a ball of fire. Only Wang Xian and Old Man Fei were left in the room. The two of them looked at each other. The 4 gold-ranked martial artists caused the atmosphere in the underground room to become extremely heavy. But who knew that the finger auras would pierce through the layer of ripples? The bald martial artist reacted quickly, he retreated, and with a light pull of the bronze rod, he once again returned to his front. Prepare the 3rd grade battle tactic. And for this drop of heavenly martial werewolf blood meridian, it took a lot of effort from the Blood Meridians laboratory. The number of blood meridians extracted involved millions of blood meridian samples, so after it was extracted, no one had ever thought of selling it. The bald martial artist's attainments in rod techniques were extremely high. None of the unpredictable finger auras escaped his grasp. They were all caught by his copper rod. He heaved a sigh of relief, but before he could do so, his pupils suddenly shrunk. Gold-ranked martial artist. All sorts of light auras suddenly lit up, like fireworks, enveloping a radius of 300 m. The finger auras hit the bronze rod, sparks flying everywhere. Out of the 4 people, 2 of them were in her list, but the other 2 were not. The bald martial artist's face changed, a look of ruthlessness flashed past his eyes, the bronze rod in his hand raised up high, facing the incoming ray spear, he swung the rod down. So ferocious. The first point of the first tactic was that the opponent would choose to dodge the first wave of attack. Chapter 410. Just at that moment, the sawtooth blade martial artist suddenly moved. The sawtooth blade hummed lightly, and 5 green ring-shaped blade auras appeared on his sawtooth blade. When the sawtooth blade martial artist tiptoed to a distance of 15 m away from Tang Tian, he stopped. It was his best distance to attack. One blade slashed horizontally. Shwa! The sturdy ground was like a crispy biscuit, instantly turning into fine powder. The astonishing true power entered the ground. Like breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, the ground around the bronze rod martial artist cracked inch by inch. Without thinking, Tang Tian bent his left hand's fingers and flicked in the air. Almost at the same time, the 5 green blade auras suddenly exploded. How is that possible? The archer could not help but shout, "How long are you guys going to drag this out?" The 3 flicks of the fingers were filled with power. Mozu, who was inside the mechanical spirit weapon, felt a sweetness in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. The mechanical spirit weapon fell heavily to the ground, the intense impact causing his mind to go blank. There was obviously no place to borrow strength from in the air, but Tang Tian's body above his shoulder seemed to be lifted up by an invisible hand. His entire body was like a leaf blown up by the wind. A few blade auras dangerously brushed past his body. He fiercely stepped on the ground, his body like an arrow, dragging the rod on the ground, rushing towards Bing. "Be careful behind you." Just a fundamental fist technique? How could he break my twisting body blade? Tang Tian was excited. "I have met a true expert. Wait a minute." Looking down from the sky, one would see a circle that was rapidly expanding outwards. The sawtooth blade martial artist retreated more than 10 steps before stabilizing his body. He looked on in disbelief, a figure that was like a falling leaf, lightly landing about 60 m away from him. Bringing along the intense revolving true power, it struck the blade aura. But it was such a simple rod, like a giant standing in the sea, splitting the sea and the waves. Everyone's state of mind could not help but be intimidated, as though the heaven and earth were being forcefully smashed apart by this rod. Bang bang bang! The intense true power spewed out from the bronze rod, like a spewing flame. The sudden energy undulation was like a hurricane that spread out in all directions. A wave of energy narrowly brushed past his body. A cold snort came out from the mechanical spirit weapon. Bing's poker face was covered in frost. His original intention was to get rid of the archer martial artist and the concealed weapon martial artist first, but after seeing the bronze staff martial artist so tyrannical, he changed his plan. Just so? With one strike, Team A was in disarray. Not a single person was able to stand. But, at that moment, he instinctively reacted, roaring. He did not retreat, but instead advanced. The copper rod in his hand danced into a ball of rod shadows. His entire being was like a heavy star spirit beast, striking towards the mechanical spirit weapon. Such a fellow would have died 100 times over. Now, this expert was pretending to be absent-minded, trying to lure them into a trap. Distracted? How could such a powerful martial artist be distracted in the middle of a battle? The saber light shattered, but the shattering of this saber light was like an avalanche. Hundreds of saber lights shattered almost at the same time. It must be a trap. The two of them stood firmly, their faces filled with patience. Just now, Tang Tian's continuous attacks were breathtaking. An astonishingly strong fundamental martial technique, an extremely ingenious attack on flaws, such a breathtaking performance. When was the last time they saw it? Inside the green mist, Tang Tian suddenly raised his head. Countless snow-white saber lights blossomed in front of Tang Tian, like fireworks. Hundreds of saber auras, with him as the center, shot out in all directions. "Ha! A big guy has come." The bald martial artist laughed sinisterly. "Then die." The sawtooth blade martial artist sensed danger. His body spun, the saber auras twirling around, twirling and revolving. The blue figure in front of them suddenly became blurry. Hearing their comrades shout, the two of them looked at each other. The concealed weapon martial artist gave his comrade a look, while the sawtooth blade martial artist approached with a face of caution. Compared to Mozu's Team A, Mo Wu Wei's Team B was not much better. The sawtooth blade martial artist was not as strong as the bald martial artist, but his saber techniques were extremely crafty. Every saber aura, was perfectly inserted into the flaws of the attacks. It was extremely exquisite. The two of them tensed up as though they were facing a great enemy. In your dreams, he suddenly noticed the strange situation below, where the three of them were facing each other. The archer martial artist was on the city wall, cleaning up the mechanisms. His red light arrows were extremely powerful. The cleaning efficiency was extremely high. In a short period of time, almost all the mechanisms in Three Spirits City were cleaned up by him. The originally powerful scorching light spear, in front of this rod, was overshadowed, like chopsticks breaking, crumbling and disappearing. The concealed weapon martial artist could not help but remind, his hands were not slow. A few shadows quietly flew towards Tang Tian, who was in the air. Tang Tian saw that the situation was not good. He knew he could not delay. Fiercely stepped on the ground, like a cannonball, he rushed towards the sawtooth blade martial artist. Put, bang, don't. He was extremely curious. Who exactly was this guy? How many years has it been since the mechanical martial artists had a gold-ranked martial artist? 10,000 years? What a joke! The concealed weapon martial artist's eyes released a cold aura. Both his arms and fingers released true power. 10 different types of concealed weapons with 10 unpredictable trajectories shot towards Tang Tian. The sawtooth blade martial artist and the concealed weapon martial artist, who had been waiting for Tang Tian to announce his name, looked at each other, their faces full of doubt. This fist was not fanciful at all. There was a slight tremor in his voice. Who is this guy? This was decided by the strength of the students. Bing was not surprised at all by the result. Tang Tian, who was in the air, suddenly felt that everything around him had become astonishingly clear. He could even see the concealed weapons flying close to the ground, bringing up a flow of air that blew a pebble the size of a grain of rice to the side. What surprised him was not Tang Tian's concealed weapons, but it was as though the opponent had already predicted his attack. In a flash, he had broken through his sneak attack, without the slightest bit of awkwardness. Purposely acting like this, to lure us in? All of you move to the side. Fundamental fist technique. It was not only him. The concealed weapon martial artist not far away had his eyes wide open, looking at Tang Tian's gaze, as though he was looking at a monster. The three concealed weapons that had bounced back did not pose any threat to him. It was obvious that the opponent's attainments in concealed weapons were not high, and only knew the most fundamental techniques, but they were solid. Bearing the brunt of the attack, the first team felt as though they had suffered a heavy blow. The heavy mechanical spirit weapons were unable to resist the astonishing power and were immediately flung out. In midair, he swung his hips, twisted his waist, and released his fists in one breath, like moving clouds and flowing water, without any hindrance. A gorgeous azure mechanical spirit weapon landed in front of him. What is this guy doing? You are looking down on us too much. Such a simple idiotic trick, and you want to use it to trick us? The green mist that exploded out, quickly engulfing Tang Tian. He realized that the heavenly martial werewolf blood meridian was much stronger than he had imagined. It was extremely mystical. He carefully recalled the fist just now, but the fuzzy feeling was erratic, and in that moment he actually forgot about the two enemies in front of him. Everyone who witnessed it was overwhelmed with shock. His reaction was extremely fast. The copper rod in his hand flew around his body. Dang, he only felt his palms heat up and immediately dodged to the side. An expert. He slowly regained his senses, and his heart was overwhelmed with shock. The opponent's fist had actually struck the weakest part of the twisting blade, and he himself did not know of this weakness. The 3 iron lotus seeds flew back like 3 powerful crossbow bolts. Bing's cold snort caused Mozu and the rest who had just regained their consciousness to roll to the side in panic. So powerful, to actually be able to suppress the two of them to the point that they did not dare to move, that was not something anyone could do. The concealed weapons martial artist had 10 different colored concealed weapons in his hands. All of them had different shapes and colors. His entire body's true power was accumulating. He was already prepared to unleash a fatal blow. Although the mechanical spirit weapons in front of him looked extremely beautiful and exquisite, but to the bald martial artist, mechanical martial artists were just a bunch of trash playing around. The only thing that did not move was the fist. But when he continued to sweep, the three of them were still like three wooden statues, not moving at all. The bald martial artist's heart trembled, so fast. A weird feeling surfaced in Tang Tian's heart, causing his eyes to become dazed for a moment. He subconsciously followed the unfamiliar feeling and did an action that surprised even himself. Tang Tian was like a shadow, rushing head first into the blade light shadows. The copper rod fiercely smashed onto the ground. What the hell? The copper rod martial artist's face was filled with arrogance. He kept his rod and mocked. What bullshit mechanical army, it's just SOSO. His rod was not fanciful at all, there was no fancy technique in it. The opponent's sharp blade technique caused Mo Wu Wei to lead the second group to be unable to defend. After a few rounds, the entire formation was already in a mess. Tang Tian stood there, his face tilted, his face in a daze, not moving for a long time. The bald martial artist had rich fighting experience, and knew that he had met an expert. He could not help but be suspicious. When did the mechanical martial artists actually produce such a powerful expert? Why have I never heard of him before? The two of them could not remember, but the strength that Tang Tian had displayed caused them to be deeply fearful. But after hearing the words of the copper rod martial artist, Bing's face darkened. Bing did not have much expectations for the army that Tang Tian was leading, since the strength of the students was there for all to see. But no matter how bad his own child was, it was not up to others to criticize him. Tang Tian lowered his head. He was still reminiscing about the sudden feeling. Was it the effect of the heavenly martial werewolf blood meridians? If it was before, he could still dodge, but it would definitely be very difficult. His intuition was not strong to such a stage. Honestly speaking, Tang Tian's tactics were not bad, at least it was suitable for the mechanical army. If the opponent did not have any high-leveled martial artists, they could use simple and reasonable tactics to easily defeat the enemy. But if the opponent had high-leveled martial artists, then the effectiveness of the tactics would be rather limited. Who are you? 5 green ring shadows quietly drew 5 arcs, flying around Tang Tian's body. The 5 blade rings suddenly stopped. They firmly locked onto Tang Tian. This is a gold-ranked martial artist. Chapter 411. It sneakily looked around, and seeing that no one was paying attention to it, it tiptoed out of the corner of the wall. Yaya's small black fist quietly clenched. The concealed weapon martial artist was struck by lightning, and his body flew out. The green mist quickly engulfed Tang Tian's face, and in a blink of an eye, it was completely covered. At this time, Sai Lei turned her face and looked at him with a playful smile. The sawtooth blade martial artist was in the middle of the battle, and the impact was stronger, and his reaction was faster. Until now, he still did not understand how did Tang Tian escape from their killing technique, but he knew, if he did not support his comrade now, his comrade's life would be in danger. Bud's spirit general also needs to fight. Who exactly is he? To have the ability to kill a gold-ranked martial artist, and such a young martial artist, definitely not many. Duan Mu's mind went through the names, and suddenly he was stunned, and blurted out, Tang Tian. He is Tang Tian. All the hair on Duan Mu's body stood up. This woman was capable of doing anything. Yu Feng is a concealed weapon master, and a gold-ranked martial artist. I did not expect him to die here. Duan Mu sighed. The archer is called Qiu Yi. He is also a gold-ranked martial artist. Sai Lei turned her face and smiled like a flower. How did you know? His wrists seemed to be weak, and the sawtooth blade in his hand scattered a blade aura. Why does Master look down on me? Not even playing with me, your boss. Duan Mu's expression was strange. The martial artist with the bow and arrow reacted at once. His expression changed drastically as he hurriedly warned. The pain of losing his arm made the concealed weapon martial artist let out a heart-wrenching scream, but he knew that it was a matter of life and death, and clenched his teeth and rushed forward. Only by increasing the distance could he save his life. Duan Mu's heart trembled. He only felt a chill from his tailbone straight up. These few days, he had already experienced the power of this beautiful woman with a heart like a scorpion. Just as Duan Mu finished his sentence, in the image, Tang Tian's figure was like the shadow of the moon, suddenly distorted. He appeared like a ghost behind the concealed weapon martial artist, his palm quietly imprinted on his back. Flying swift blades. In the strong winds, Squirrel's dazed face and his tail, which had been blown to the side by the air currents. Be careful! There was nothing in the green mist saber radiance. The two of them combined their killing moves. If the other party did not dodge, then he was dead for sure. Even he himself would not have the slightest chance of survival in such a situation. Yaya raised her head and looked at the figure of her master in the video. Her eyes were so bright that they seemed to be glowing. The sawtooth saber warrior was startled. Without caring about anything else, he swung his sawtooth saber. The saber light that had just flown out drew a circle in the air like a flock of birds returning to their nest. It stuck to his body and carried him more than 10 zhang away. This guy already had the ability to kill a gold-ranked martial artist. The goat squatted down gracefully, the tortoise poked its head out of its shell, and the squirrel put his hands on his chest, wagging his tail at him adorably. The destructive spiral energy suddenly erupted. This youth's figure was like a puff of smoke, nimble to the point that he didn't seem like a human. Just now, as he rushed forward, his hands were like blooming flowers. All those hidden weapons were caught in his palms, not a single one missed. Biya. Did he already predict all of the opponent's attacks? In the basement, Duan Mu, who was tied up tightly, had a change of expression for the first time. Tang Tian did not chase after him, but stopped. His expression was a little lost. But this was a real battle result. Well done. Blood splattered, and an arm flew into the sky. The training method that Uncle Bing taught it was to use the swallowing light steel fist to go, go, go. Uncle Bing said, if the whole clay plateau were to pop out, the swallowing light steel fist would be very powerful. The tortoise was frightened and quickly retracted its head. 3 Spirit City had Sai Lei and the twins. Sai Lei was too scary, and Belle could not see him. Pai Pa was the best. Anyway, it was more fun than the clay plat. Good little buddy. Sai Lei laughed and lightly patted Duan Mu's face, but he was surprised. Duan Mu had never seen it before, but he could guess that Tang Tian's ability was related to his blood meridians. Not long after, they saw the entrance to 3 Spirit City, and Yaya became happy. The mission of the Bud Spirit General was to fight side by side with its master. Yaya drooped its head and walked in the tunnel, listless. Sai Lei laughed and leaned over, his bright red fingernails lightly scratched Duan Mu's chin, and said gently, "Why do I hear from your words? It sounds like the opponent is giving up the victory? Isn't this our boss's strength? You have to think clearly." His gaze looked at the mechanical spirit weapon. Suddenly, he saw something from the corner of his eyes. When Yaya passed through the entrance and entered the base, its soft and tender little face suddenly became serious, but its eyes suddenly lit up like the stars in the night sky. Duan Mu felt Belle's killing intent, and his heart shivered. What was wrong with him today? Why did he make such a low-level mistake? Calling out Tang Tian's identity would only make his situation worse. Duan Mu heaved a sigh of relief, and secretly mocked himself for not having integrity to be threatened by a woman. Even the archer martial artist on the city wall was relieved. Pu. It had been leading a group of mechanical beasts to shoot at the clock sand every day. It was extremely boring. It had not seen its master for so many days, and Uncle Bing said that it wanted to be like its master and undergo tough training to become as powerful as its master. 10 concealed weapons, bringing along 10 different types of power, entered the green mist. The sawtooth blade martial artist looked at Tang Tian in shock. The green mist was made up of countless of fine blade auras. All of these blade auras were as fine as sand, extremely sharp. They were like quicksand, wrapping around Tang Tian, flowing at an astonishing speed, revolving like a green monster squirming. Yaya's mood immediately became better, and jumped onto the goat's back. Impossible! The archer martial artist on the city wall had strong eyesight, and he saw it clearly. Belle immediately became alert. She was in charge of intelligence and was extremely sensitive to such things. Although the two of them were careless, although they underestimated the enemy, although he suddenly turned his head. He heard the faint sounds of battle. The green mist was like green quicksand, slowly sliding down. Wait a minute. At such a close distance, his concealed weapons would definitely not miss. More and more green mist slid down like quicksand. Your boss's strength is indescribable. Just like the technique he used to escape from the killing technique, I have never seen it before. It is extremely powerful. It should be related to the blood meridians. The sneak attack and pursuit behind, he grasped the rhythm very well. When he made his last attack, it was also the best. When the opponent's comrade came to help, when the opponent's state of mind was relaxed, it was a fatal blow. Bang! At this time, the concealed weapon martial artist's body fell heavily to the ground. His face was covered in blood. He was no longer breathing. The life force in his body was completely destroyed by Tang Tian. The archer martial artist's face was full of shock. In that moment, he was in a daze. Suddenly, Duan Mu was stunned. Sai Lei's extremely young boss was actually able to kill a gold-ranked martial artist under the collaboration of two gold-ranked martial artists. I know the Sawtooth Blade and the Baldy. They are by Qi and Ru Hai from the Huofu family. Who are the other two? Sai Lei asked. Yaya held onto the goat's horns and shouted in high spirits with a childish voice. The goat sensed its emotions. Its four limbs suddenly exerted strength. Like an arrow leaving the bow, it rushed forward. My swallowing light steel fist has become stronger. But I have not seen my master for a long time. The blade aura was like rain. Every blade aura was only the size of a palm, like a flock of green swallows, drawing a beautiful arc, pouncing towards Tang Tian. In the basement, Sai Lei excitedly punched Duan Mu. Duan Mu looked at her, did not say a word. Sai Lei's punches were pitifully small. To him, it did not even cause him any pain. What made him even more shocked was, he had shot out 47 concealed weapons, but it was like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no reaction at all. He is going to succeed. Duan Mu said. His eyes did not move away from the image. Not simple. The archer martial artist's mouth was wide open, as if he had seen a ghost. He clearly saw how the green mist of the blade aura enveloped Tang Tian. He definitely did not see wrongly. For a martial artist who trained in archery, the most important thing was the eyes and the heart. The strongest was the eyes and the heart. There was never an illusion that could escape his eyes. It's over. The two of them looked at each other, and coincidentally saw the relieved expression in each other's eyes, and a tinge of relief. So it was just a bluff, and they were almost cheated by a brat. There was a battle. From the start to the end, the young brat did not stop at all, did not hesitate at all. After the successful strike, without any hesitation he rushed forward, and in a blink of an eye, all the concealed weapons were absorbed into his hands. The entire process was smooth and pleasing to the eye, and was filled with explosive killing intent. Mixed together, it had an unparalleled visual impact. The goat also revealed caution and caution. It ran along the tunnel. It was worried for Sai Lei's safety. Who is going to succeed? Sai Lei's heart tightened. Rhythm. Their rhythm is already messed up. Duan Mu explained. From the moment your boss avoided their killing moves, he already had the advantage. But if the two of them were not so careless, his advantage would not be so big. They were too relaxed and panicked at the back. Their coordination was too unfamiliar. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside it. It raised its head. It was the goat, the tortoise, and the squirrel. The concealed weapon martial artist felt the danger behind him and could not help but be shocked. The concealed weapons in his hands were thrown backwards, but his body was frantically rushing forward. But a dense killing intent, like maggots in the bones, followed closely behind. He only felt a chill at the back of his neck, overwhelmed with shock. He only cared about running and did not dare to look back. Yaya was not happy. It angrily used its small legs to kick away all the obstructing pebbles, buried its head and walked forward step by step. Its steps were pitifully small, walking like a tortoise. Very quickly, they found Sai Lei's position. Sai Lei saw them. did not say anything, and turned back to continue watching the battle. At this time, everyone's attention was on the battle. So boring. Furthermore, Bud's spirit generals were born for the battlefield. A cold aura, like a sharp wolf claw, swept across the air. What did you see? Sai Lei immediately asked. She had been paying attention to Duan Mu's expression. This brat's understanding of battle was much stronger than her. Duan Mu's heart once again turned cold. He was very powerful. Master is fighting. Chapter 412. The Blood Meridian's laboratory not far from the mechanical laboratory was in an uproar. All the Blood Meridian specialists were excited, all of their faces were flushed red, and they were extremely excited. Usually this would not be his weakness, but now, to him, it was extremely disadvantageous. He immediately understood. The multicolored poison mist beneath his feet exploded. The entire city wall was enveloped in the multicolored poison mist. It looked extremely terrifying. Stop talking nonsense. Poison, poison, poison. Who has it? Heh, I am a Bud Spirit General. Do you know about the Three Flowers Convergence? Old Man Fei was slightly perspiring. The quantity was too much, he might as well not think about it. Then later we will use the mechanism to throw it over. Wang Xian continued, we will use the jumping rabbit. Standing on top of the city wall, he was slightly relieved. The bronze city wall was very tall. It was at least 15 m tall, in the shape of a square. The top of the city wall could accommodate 5 people walking side by side. With his light body technique, once he saw that something was wrong, he would be able to escape. There would definitely be no problem. Yaya, who jumped into the air, took a deep breath. Its soft little face suddenly puffed up, like a balloon. It tried its best to open its little eyes. Its black little iron fists clenched tightly. Without waiting for Qiu-Yi to land, it howled and pounced over impatiently. Luckily, the poison mist in his body was not gold-ranked poison. His true power was trying its best to dissolve the poison. You are so sinister, the skinny old man exclaimed, then suddenly laughed. But I like it. I really want to catch Boss back for research. I have it. I have it. I have it. Since when was he reliable? Home. Wang Xian was surprised. Kacha, what is this situation? Can you give it a more imposing name? A sharp pain came from his wrist. Qiu-Yi's expression froze. His wrist was broken. Old Man Fei did not care about anything else, and anxiously said, Guys, now is not the time to discuss this. That bitch from the blacksmithing department lost so badly, and Boss is here. Isn't this the best opportunity for us to show off? Guys, if you don't use it now, when are you going to hide it? He could clearly see the black figure rushing in front of him. Titese, you rascal, I guess even your heart is black. The skinny old man looked at Wang Xian, then turned and ran to ambush. Old Man Fei looked at him. Yaya sneaked out. It was afraid that Tang Tian would see it, so it aimed at Qiu-Yi, who was on the city wall. It was still worried that Qiu-Yi was too far away from it. It didn't expect Qiu-Yi to suddenly float towards it. Just as he was about to hit the target, he suddenly sensed that something was wrong. The strong life force of a gold-ranked martial artist was displayed at this moment. As soon as he landed on the ground, the suffocating feeling in his chest lessened. Everyone was taken aback and looked in that direction in unison. Old Man Fei shook his head. I trust Boss. The skinny old man slapped his forehead in the dark, his face full of vexation. It's over. The location of the three-flower ambush is wrong. We'll cover the entire wall, Wang Xian interrupted. Everyone's gaze fell on Madame Huang Mu's face. Wang Xian remained silent. Suddenly, his chest felt stuffy, and his expression changed greatly. I have 300. 200. I want more, 500. I've never been to a big organization, so I don't know what glory is, and I don't know what a mission is. I'm old, I don't want to be famous, I don't want to be successful. I'm very free here, I'm respected, I'm happy every day, I like this place, I've never thought of leaving it. Maybe there are better places in the world than here, I'm not jealous at all. This kind of place is home. An extremely small black shadow, shot towards Chiu Yi. This was the Bud Spirit General's first real battle. Everyone was stunned, and after a while, their eyes lit up. Wang Xian was not used to being praised by so many people and immediately said to the skinny old man, "This poison will definitely not take his life. For a gold-ranked martial artist, unless it's a gold-ranked poison, it won't be fatal. But he will definitely be affected. He will jump down from the wall. Let the 3 flowers ambush below the wall. At this time, you can use the 3 flowers at the prominence." 20,000. Madame Huang Mu's face was calm. Everyone agreed loudly, and all of them ran. "I knew you weren't reliable. What was that? Who are we fighting? Damn. It looks like Moon Wolf Sky Shadow." Wang Xian quickly said, "We will tie the poison bubble on the jumping rabbit, and then mix it with the other jumping rabbits. There are 2 gates on the wall. We will release the rabbits from both gates." After spending countless days and nights on the clay plateau, enduring countless loneliness and boredom, he finally mastered the swallowing light steel fist. The throbbing in the depths of his soul, the Bud Spirit General that was born from the killing aura of the ancient battlefield, was already destined to fight. A group of old men and women pointed at the skinny old man and scolded, causing the skinny old man's face to turn red. He looked at the poisoned Chiu Yi, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and pointed at Chiu Yi's position and shouted, "What is that?" "It came to me just like that. Manager Little Crane is really pretty. Release the rabbits." Old Man Fei shouted. "That's right. Let's do it this way. Poison. Why isn't it recorded in the books? He knows how to dodge." Someone shouted. Old Man Fei laughed, turned and left. He also had some things to prepare. Behind him, there was a sea of rabbits that were as dense as the tide. The expression in Yaya's eyes seemed to have changed at this moment. Wang Xian rushed over and said calmly, "Are you worried that boss won't win? How many jumping rabbits does everyone have?" Wang Xian asked. Chiu Yi already regretted accepting this business. Who told him that this was a small place that did not even have a gold-ranked martial artist? He really wanted to leave, but when he thought of the astronomical penalty, he bit the bullet and floated into the city wall. "Everyone be quiet." The light around the fist seemed to be swallowed by the fist, as if Yaya's fist was covered with a circle of darkness. "Swallow. Wait. Iron. Fist." Although boss is very strong. Old Man Fei looked straight at Wang Xian, but if the Lien family only wants to rely on others to protect it forever, seeing everyone fighting for your home, and you say to yourself in the corner that it's useless for you to do anything. This kind of person is probably so cowardly that he doesn't even have the courage to live. "All right, then I'll spend 2 flowers and 3 flowers." Chiu Yi did not understand, but when he looked towards the direction of the sound, his eyes widened. He saw tens of thousands of rabbits, like waves, approaching him crazily. Chiu Yi stood on the city wall. He was shocked by Tang Tian's performance just now. He did not plan to go down. If the martial artist with the bow and arrow got close to him, it would be bad. These rabbits, how many types of poison did they carry? Makes sense. "Release the rabbits." Old Man Fei raised his head and looked at him. "I don't know what you are thinking, but to me, this is already my home. Do we need to instigate to protect our home?" Using the bow and arrow. He is on the city wall. His target is obvious. "I will go too. Manager Crane is in charge." Old Man Fei nodded. "But who is the boss?" "It's the boss. If we perform well and leave a deep impression on the boss, will Manager Crane sit back and do nothing? Stewards work for the boss. Although Steward Little Crane is pretty." His expression changed completely this time. Madame Huang Mu said calmly, "Coincidentally, we need to do a large-scale experiment." The light arrows were like rain, pouring down from his hands. Old Man Fei, who rushed back, suddenly frowned. He suddenly stood on the table and screamed at the top of his lungs. He had heard of all kinds of poisons, but he had never heard of anyone using poison like this. "Oh my God, what did I just see?" Everyone worked together. The efficiency was astonishing. At most 2 minutes, he would be able to neutralize all the poison. What the hell is this place? Chiu Yi felt a small thing approaching. He thought it was a rabbit that fell from the city wall. He waved his hand. intending to slap it away. "Old Man Fei, isn't Manager Crane in charge of the funds now?" someone asked. "Hopping rabbit?" Everyone was stunned. The hopping rabbit was the most commonly used star spirit beast by the Blood Meridian's experts. It was only rank 2, it was easy to breed. The hopping rabbit was good at jumping, they had high compatibility with Blood Meridians, many experiments required them, so everyone nurtured them. Then why did you instigate everyone? Wang Xian was curious. When Old Man Fei heard that, he felt that the topic of discussion was off topic. He immediately clapped his hands and shouted, "Guys! Fuck this guy. Eat and drink, it all depends on today. I'll go tie up the poison bubble." Yaya became excited. But there were too many rabbits. In a blink of an eye, there were many rabbits approaching him. He had no choice but to fly up into the sky. Seeing the densely packed rabbits below his feet, he was puzzled. What was the use of so many rabbits? Suddenly, he heard footsteps coming from behind him. He immediately turned his head and quivered. The clamor gradually calmed down. Everyone looked at Old Man Fei in confusion. Suddenly, he heard an old man howling. Old Man Fei continued to fan the flames. "Funds? We need more funds. Whichever project does not lack funds, don't do it, give the opportunity to others." He hurriedly picked up the bow in his hand and shot frantically, only to see the red light arrows falling into the sea of rabbits like raindrops. The archery technique he trained in was called straight ray red arrow. The power of this archery technique was astonishing. It was a unique martial technique. It was famous for its penetrating power. It was known to be able to break through anything, but it did not have a large-scale explosion-type technique. Chiao Yi wanted to dodge, but Yaya's fist was faster than he thought. He could not dodge in time. He could only muster his remaining true power to block the fist. Heavenly Martial Werewolf Blood Meridians. It must be the power of the Blood Meridians. His tiny body stretched out in the air, his small face was stern and stern, he was brave like an ancient warrior, advancing forward. Give it to others? What a joke! All these strange old men and old ladies, all had a layer of killing intent on their faces, and looked at each other angrily. This method is sinister. Chapter 413. He was still alive. The new Sky Tiger was even more outstanding. He could easily control it, and his martial spirit was even smarter. As long as he willed it, the mechanical spirit weapon would be able to accurately execute a battle tactic. From the side, a figure appeared. It was Goat. "Are you an expert from the Southern Cross Army?" Sai Lei smiled. Yaya was the bravest. Duan Mu felt like he was the city wall. Tens of thousands of hopping rabbits ran over his body. How could there be such a battle newbie in such a powerful place? "Can you please ask some technical questions?" Duan Mu could not help but retort. "It is already very exciting. Your mechanical martial artist is very powerful. This is rhythm. His control of rhythm has already reached the point of perfection. Just by relying on the rhythm, he can suppress a gold-ranked martial artist. I have never seen such a master tactician." Yaya was overjoyed. She jumped onto Goat's head and held onto its horns. "Two. I don't have time to be sad. Because before I disappear, I have to realize all of them. When did such a strong mechanical martial artist appear? Why haven't I heard of him before?" Duan Mu quivered. "Damn it, I was too engrossed. I almost forgot how vicious this woman was." Squeak! Goat's eyes lit up. His four limbs exerted strength. Like an arrow, he chased after Chiao Yi. Goat's fighting ability was not strong. He was best at running. After Sai Lei's modification, his running ability was even more shocking. Yaya was furious. He snorted at Sanhua. There were too many things for him to do. There were too many unfulfilled dreams for him to realize. There were too many glories for him to defend. But the opponent was too fast. Chiao Yi, who was in a panic, heard the movement behind him. His face changed. In a moment of desperation, he flipped the bow in his hand to block the attack. Suddenly, there was a sound behind him. He quickly turned his head. He saw Yaya holding onto the horns of Goat's head. He was scared out of his wits. Without thinking, Yaya instinctively waved its two little fists just like how it usually did. So he was a battle newbie. He would sometimes think of Sky Tiger. But he knew that was already over. Why would Yaya be afraid? His consumption is too great. Duan Mu explained. Yaya, who was getting excited from killing, let out a loud howl when she saw that the enemy was trying to escape. 3 strangely shaped star spirit beasts approached. The skinny old man's 3 flowers converged crown, circled a big circle, and finally arrived. This he quickly put on an act. I'm thinking about how to explain it. What was rhythm? For example, when you look at the mechanical martial artists cruising, it seemed to be far and close at times, but if you looked closely, you would realize he would always maintain a distance that he could attack at any time. Also, look, his attacks are very scattered, as if he doesn't have a target, but every attack makes his opponent feel very uncomfortable. Moreover, every time the Baldy wanted to counterattack, he would always launch an attack, forcing the opponent to parry. His opponent's rhythm was completely suppressed by him, and he could only turtle up. How could people live in sadness forever? Even if it was gone, even if it would never come back, even if every corner of the memory in her mind was still fresh, even if it was destined to never fade. Bing's poker face was expressionless, his gaze locked onto Baldy's weakness. Sky Tiger in the air drew a beautiful and sharp arc, like a blade cutting through the air. Baldy's sweat became denser and denser. The opponent's every attack was always at the most uncomfortable angle. The opponent was like a cunning wolf, seemingly aimlessly cruising, but filled with dense killing intent. His mental state was always stretched taut. The huge pressure caused him to start gasping for breath. Bud's spirit generals, they are very powerful in battle. Inside Sky Tiger, Bing's poker face was expressionless. Just like his battle instincts, even though he was controlling a mechanical spirit weapon, when he fought, it was still the standard Southern Cross Army style: sudden stops, short sprints, B-shaped cruising, 2-2-2. Baldy's head was already covered in sweat. He could not even touch the opponent's figure. It was the first time he saw such a powerful mechanical martial artist, the first time he saw a mechanical spirit weapon with such astonishing speed. But I will never forget. The more Yaya thought about it, the more excited she became. She could not hold it in anymore. She jumped up, both her hands raised up high, her childish voice resonating in the air. He was not sentimental. Qiu Yi's eyes widened. He looked at the small figure in disbelief. He could not imagine how such a small body could contain such astonishing power. Yaya wanted to put on a stern face, but she could not help but smile. The corner of her mouth opened up uncontrollably. At this moment, she sprinted with all her might, like a stream of light. Yaya, who was holding onto the horns, stared with her eyes wide open, her cheeks puffed up, her killing intent soaring. Because the weak and useless young lad now had a heart of stone. Pung ping pung. Qiu Yi's breathing was already very weak. The poison that invaded his body was extremely powerful. Without the protection of true power, his body was no different from a normal person. His consciousness gradually blurred. The jet-black iron fists, like raindrops, swung towards Qiu Yi. In the basement, Duan Mu shook his head again. Baldy is going to lose. Really very strong. Duan Mu's eyes lit up. I never thought that in this world there would be such a strong mechanical martial artist. If I did not see it with my own eyes, I would not believe it. Legend has it that only the experts of the Southern Cross Army can do this. The true power that was out of control wreaked havoc in his meridians. Qiu Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost control of his body and flew out. Yaya had played in every corner of the bronze base. There was not a single star spirit beast that did not fall into his hands. Although the 3 star spirit beasts were much stronger than before, it was obvious that Yaya had left a deep impression on them. The 3 of them stayed at the side obediently, not daring to move forward. Yaya's nose twitched. He raised his head, both hands behind his back. He tried his best to tiptoe. With the face of a small adult, he slowly walked towards Qiu Yi and Sanhua. Yaya's fists were so fast that the naked eye could not catch them. The surrounding light was completely engulfed. forming a dark void. Qiu Yi flew far away. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. His right wrist was broken, his fighting power was almost completely gone. Previously, he was still worried about the astronomical compensation, but now he did not think about it. He only had one thought in his mind: to leave this place immediately. So that's how it is. I kind of understand now. Sai Lei nodded. Southern Cross Army, advance. Regardless of whether it was Tang Tian, the mysterious mechanical martial artist, or the weird bud spirit general, they were all so powerful that they made him dumbfounded, but the woman beside him, who had a high status, was like an idiot. San Hua immediately retreated, his face showing fear. What is rhythm? Sai Lei was confused. Qiu Yi was in a difficult situation. He dodged left and right. This little thing in his eyes was like a little devil. He only had one thought in his mind: stay away from this little devil. But Sai Lei asked curiously. The excruciating pain from his wrist was like a tidal wave that assaulted his spirit in waves. The extraordinary bow, like a biscuit, suddenly crumbled. Plop. Moreover, this was the Bud Spirit General's first battle. The enemy's back was getting bigger and bigger in Yaya's vision. Now is the time. Yaya tried his best to widen his small eyes, puffed up his round cheeks, and exhaled loudly. Yaya hung on the goat's horn. The rapid airflow blew its body unsteadily, but it was not afraid at all. It was very familiar with the goat sprinting. Yaya, who was flying, suddenly realized something appeared in front of him. Damn it! His light body technique was average. He usually walked the path of using force to break through tricks. He hurriedly ran. Qiu Yi's body was shaking like a sieve, waves of astonishing power, from the bow to his body. It was so dense that he could not even breathe. When Qiu Yi fell to the ground, his face was already black. It was just like the time in his memory. Yeah. So that's how it is. Sai Lei understood a little, but he was a little disappointed. I thought there would be some exciting battle. He looked at the towering city wall, and the colorful poison that shrouded the city wall. He secretly complained in his heart. If he was at his peak, he could totally rely on his exceptional light body technique, fly to a high place, and avoid the poisonous fog. But now, the true power in his body was entangled with the poison. It would be good if he could use 50% of his true power. Yaya's arm that was hanging on the goat's horn suddenly exerted force. It was like a small stone that was shot out from a slingshot. In an instant, it flew out. Yaya's small eyes widened. It did not even think about anything else. Just like the countless nights in the clay plateau, it was extremely familiar with it. Star coins were important, but compared to his life, it was nothing. The goat's eyes flashed a trace of terrifying light. It suddenly lowered its head, the goat's horn pointed forward, and suddenly accelerated. Duan Mu could only explain in detail. In a highly tense state, the consumption of physical strength and true power will be a few times more than usual. What's more fatal is that Baldy did not notice his own physical strength and true power being depleted. He did not put in too much effort. Sai Lei did not understand. Duan Mu did not understand. He nodded. Yes. That era was the peak of the mechanics. It gathered the most powerful mechanical martial artists in history. The mechanical martial artists now are much weaker than that time. But what was truly fatal was not the fracture. The true power in Qiu Yi's body had always been in a stalemate with the poison. Yaya's punch completely broke the balance. The true power in his body suddenly became chaotic. The poison was like a tide, invading every corner of his body. Qiu Yi's hand that was holding the bow had a comminuted fracture. What's with your expression? Did I ask something wrong? Sai Lei's eyes curved, smiling like a flower. The pain in his hand made it even harder for him to concentrate. He was different from those martial artists who were good at close combat. His attacking style allowed him to maintain a certain distance from the enemy. He was rarely injured, which made him not used to being injured. Bud Spirit General's first battle. Chapter 414. A head flew into the sky. Ping! The sawtooth blade martial artist was stunned again. The bald man's face changed as he retreated. It was the first time for him to fight head-on. Before this, the opponent completely relied on his strange footwork and sneak attacks. In his heart, this mechanical martial artist was classified as an assassin-type martial artist, causing him to be extremely cautious. Dang dang dang. Not powerful. Duanmu's voice was dry, scary, too calm. He could have won if he fought head-on, but he used such a method to end the battle. That means he was not willing to waste a single bit of energy. To be able to maintain such a calm mind in such a violent and continuous attack, that's too scary. The feasibility is not high, the level of innovation is not high, oh, most importantly, the expenditure is too high. Watch my blade. Again. What's going on? Hey, don't forget your identity as a prisoner, Duanmu, quickly reflect on yourself. Duanmu was dumbfounded. Hey uncle, why are you back? Little Tang Tang still has an enemy. Sai Lei said anxiously. Big sister, if you're angry, just vent it on me, don't do anything stupid. Now, arrange for next week's work. Sure too, your task is to take out number 55 bronze from our plan. I want to see at least 3 samples. Sai Lei suddenly noticed Duanmu's stunned expression, and felt weird. Are you stunned? Bang bang bang. So mysterious. Calm down. Calm down. Big sister. Expenditure. Are you trying to kill us? Not good. The bald man sensed danger and roared. The bronze rod in his hand swept across. The rod aura was still strong and fierce, but in Bing's eyes, there was a trace of weakness. The opponent was starting to feel weak. Until now, the power from the bronze rod made him realize that his judgment was completely wrong. The bald man retreated step by step. Every attack caused his arm to tremble. The opponent's continuous attacks were like a torrential storm. He was almost suffocating and could only instinctively wave the bronze rod. Sanhua was unconscious. Yaya looked at Tang Tian's direction. Seeing that Tang Tian was not disturbed, she patted her chest with a face of lingering fear. Big sister, why? He quivered, but before he could react, he felt a sharp pain at the back of his neck. He suddenly remembered that in that instant, the few weak points of the saber seemed to have appeared in his eyes, and then he subconsciously used Thousand Cleave Demonic Hand to break the saber light. Thank goodness we have Yaya. I've decided not to feed it poison anymore. Only the sea would be full of water. It took him a moment to think of a word, dismemberment. The sawtooth saber martial artist was stunned. Tang Tian was also stunned. Out of the 4 gold-ranked martial artists, only he was left. However, what he couldn't understand was that the enemy's comrades had retreated like the tide. The sawtooth saber martial artist was stunned. His saber radiance had been blocked and shattered before, but it had never been. The fact that the other party was showing signs of fatigue meant that the outcome of the battle was not far away. There's still a battle going on up there. It quickly and skillfully tied the 3 idiots on the ground into a knot, dragged them to a corner, and dragged them along the base of the city wall, desperately dragging them back. The experts in the laboratory were all dumbfounded. That's true. Sai Lei regained his senses, rubbed his chin, and muttered to himself, snatching that guy's opponent, that guy will definitely be furious. Why don't we try? Seeing that, Yaya panicked, these 3 idiots. In a panic, he immediately used all his strength. Like a strange black shadow, he circled around Sanhua's body. Ali, I've seen your report, reject it. But if his physical strength and true power were severely weakened, then it meant that he was in an absolutely weak state. Yaya looked at the sawtooth blade martial artist with a longing gaze, as though it was looking at a roasted meat leg. But when his gaze swept across Tang Tian, his body froze. Ping! The underground room immediately exploded. All the mechanical engineers' faces changed. They immediately surrounded Sai Lei, holding him tightly, afraid that Sai Lei would do something stupid. All right, it's better not to provoke him. Then, the saber aura was broken apart. Duanmu suddenly had an urge to break open the head of the beautiful lady, to see if there was a vast ocean inside. The sound of the saber aura breaking apart became even clearer. Ping! Tang Tian was also stunned. Watch my blade. Again! How could it be like this? He instinctively waved his bronze rod, but there was nothing in front of it, there was nothing. There's a conspiracy. Inside the huge city wall, there was only him and the young man in front of him. To martial artists, true power and physical strength were the core of a battle. For a long time, martial artists' understanding of their bodies was at a low level, and they thought that only true power was the core of a battle. Until the rise of the Blood Meridian's martial artists, the exploration and research of physical strength then entered a deeper realm. Tang Tian was like an angry cat, his eyes opened wide. He subconsciously leaned to the side, his left index finger piercing into the saber aura. Following that, in his vision, there seemed to be 6 points. Without thinking, his right hand's 5 fingers, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, swept past the 6 points. Everyone in the Blood Meridian's laboratory pointed at the skinny old man and scolded, and Yaya immediately became the new favorite of the Blood Meridian's laboratory. Hey you guys, the enemy is a gold-ranked martial artist, alright. After a while, clang 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 clang, Sky Tiger flew back and Bing came out. But damn it, what kind of conspiracy is this? Tang Tian also reacted, and was immediately enraged. He was shouted at just now, but he actually did not make a sound. The one who had the upper hand was the godlike young man, all right. He was not to be outdone and shouted, again. Without thinking, his figure flashed, his 10 fingers were like hooks, piercing into the saber aura. His 10 fingers shook and twisted, only to hear a ping sound. The saber aura shattered. Both parties' rod fists clashed, like 2 heavy hammers, fiercely colliding. Every time they collided, the turbulent airflow would explode into a transparent circle of air, continuously flashing in the air, washing away everything around the two of them. Duan Mu stared straight at the image of the blue sky tiger, and muttered, "Too scary." The saber aura was more solid than before, more biting cold, more terrifying. 3 flowers at the crown. Are you gathering at our crown? If our funds decrease a little, you'll be dead. The sawtooth blade martial artist panicked. The seemingly solid blade aura shattered like a piece of glass, breaking into dozens of pieces before turning into fragments and vanishing. Just at this time, the sawtooth blade martial artist came back to his senses and bellowed, "Watch my blade. Master will not scold Yaya, right?" After a while, the surrounding voices pulled Duan Mu back from his daze. "Watch my blade. Again." The young man, who was in a daze, already made him feel extremely weird, and then everyone else disappeared, giving up the battlefield. Such a scene was even weirder. Arrange for next week's work. Spirit General. Weird, it's too weird. Seeing that the enemy had fallen, the 3 flowers' gaze turned to the only remaining enemy, the sawtooth blade martial artist. 3 pairs of eyes lit up, howling, and were about to rush over. The tall and big sky tiger, under such a ferocious attack, was swift and fierce. Duan Mu mocked himself in his heart. Ping, ding. Duan Mu's face was full of despair. Who can tell me, what the hell is this place? This. Sai Lei's alluring face shook, with a face full of pride. Poker uncle, that's pretty powerful. Bing did not give Baldy any chance to breathe. Sky Tiger was like a ghost. His attacks changed from the gloomy and cold to the current ferocious and violent. Every attack was powerful. He felt that he was going crazy. What exactly is this place? Yaya, you're going to be a big hero in the future. Let's not bother about the false reputation. Tang Tian, who was in a daze, suddenly regained his focus. The sawtooth blade martial artist was going crazy. He made up his mind. Since it would not be good today, without saying a word, the sawtooth blade in his hand trembled. The blade light was like a pool of clear water, rolling towards Tang Tian. Duan Mu looked blankly. Sai Lei was already sitting at the table. In the continuous ping-ping-ping sound, he was knocking on the table to arrange the work for the other mechanical engineers next week. It was obvious that Bing was still brooding over the embezzlement. The two of them regained their senses at the same time, looked at each other angrily, and roared at the same time. After all, he was someone who had killed his way through mountains of blades and seas of blood, and immediately understood Bing's intention, and his face changed. There was definitely a conspiracy. Swallowing light steel fist. Poker face. Well done. Sai Lei jumped out, raised his arms and cheered. The mechanical engineers beside him were all cheering. Duan Mu was dumbstruck. Yaya looked around for a while, then retreated, intending to sneak back. Sai Lei scoffed, "What, calm down? He's just lazy. Poker face uncle has always been so lazy." Tang Tian felt as though he had discovered a new continent and was extremely excited. Sky Tiger's fist struck the bald man's copper rod without any fanciful movements. The dull sound caused everyone's eardrums to hurt. The surging airflow was like a storm sweeping in all directions. Being dismembered. Tang Tian was also stunned. He had just used the thousand-cleave demonic hand, which was not strange, but the thousand-cleave demonic hand could only make use of the flaws between techniques and was unable to dismember the blade aura like that. The sawtooth blade martial artist regained his senses and became even more furious. "Watch my blade." Bing's previous series of tactics were all for this purpose. The most dumbstruck was Duan Mu, looking at the image, the two of them facing each other. "You slash, I break. You slash again, I break again. Lazy. 1,000 people don't want to be caught red-handed." Bing glanced at her and said unhappily, "You want to cheat me? You want me to snatch the crazy young man's opponent? And then deduct my funds? Not good." I fell into a trap. The mechanical engineers in the mechanical laboratory were also dumbstruck. A martial artist whose physical strength was depleted would have a certain degree of weakness in their control of true power. Out of all the people here, no one is normal? Forget it, you ran into Burn City to loot, okay? How did you become as abnormal as them? Its heart was unsure. Whether its master would praise it or punish it, it was hard to say. The blade aura spread out, the astonishing blade aura, with a terrifying power, pounced straight towards Tang Tian's face. "Big sister, please don't." Chapter 415. Tang Cho was not reprimanded by Master Bing, because he knew that in Master Bing's eyes, this army was just cannon fodder. But Tang Cho was extremely angry, and it was his own anger. After waiting bitterly for an hour, Duan Mu, who was on the verge of collapsing, heard the voice of God. He was finally free. He was indeed forgotten. "I have to bear the main responsibility for the defeat of this battle. I have an unshirkable responsibility in the formulation of the strategy. I apologize to everyone here." After Qi Guang admitted defeat, Tang Tian did not kill him, but used him as a sparring partner to train in the thousand-cleave demonic hand. Ping, ping, ping. The three flowers were obviously not reliable, and Yaya easily tied the three of them up and dragged them back. "There's no way to save them." Sai Lei raised his head to look at the screen, shook his head and sighed, then retracted his gaze and lowered his head to continue his work. More importantly, this strategy had many limitations. Sandao, Liu, despicable and shameless. They were long used to being mocked. Ever since they stepped into this line of work, the mockery and admonishment had never disappeared. Decline, no future, be more realistic. Mo Ziyu and Mo Wu Wei stood up straight and roared at the same time, "Yes." Bing came over. "Yaya, you're worried that your master will find trouble with you, right?" Yaya raised his head, his eyes shining, and nodded with all his might. After about half an hour, Duan Mu's numb nerves finally regained their usual calmness and decisiveness. "Yes, yes, yes." Tang Tian nodded his head. All the mechanical engineers were flushed red, gasping for breath. They could not help but clench their fists. They felt as though there was lava flowing in their bodies, burning every corner of their bodies. Yen Tu's words were filled with indescribable anger. "What's there to be afraid of gold-ranked martial artists? We can still kill them." That's right, what target is more attractive than this? What target is more irresistible to a mechanical engineer? Yaya was worried, her small face frowned, unconsciously fiddling with her little finger. How will Master settle the score? Will he forget about this, or Duan Mu, who was tied up, seemed to have sensed something and could not help but shiver. Scarlet Light did not resist too much at first. For a prisoner of war, such treatment was quite good. Who knew that Tang Tian's energy was limitless, and he didn't know fatigue at all. The two of them glared at each other, panting desperately. At that time they were strong. At that time, they had dignity. At that time they had glory. Wuxia's scalp went numb. We haven't found out yet. Yes, no one has done it, but so what? We are going to do it. We have to be the strongest. We want to tell everyone that mechanisms are the greatest power. We have been forgotten for too long. I've had enough. We will tell them that the era of traps has come. We will tell them that our era has come. We are the strongest mechanical engineers. Everyone stared blankly at Tang Chou. Ping. Gold-ranked martial artist. Our goal from now on is to become a gold-ranked martial artist. As long as we can kill the gold-ranked martial artist, we can have as much money as we want. It wouldn't be a problem for me to increase it by a few times. Watch my blade. Then, Duan Mu realized that he had been forgotten. He laughed at himself and quietly waited for his fate. Scarlet Light was the martial artist who used the sawtooth blade. His face was filled with anger. I have already surrendered. What do you want? You can be killed, but you cannot be humiliated. Gold-ranked martial artists have dignity. Training grounds. Very quickly, Scarlet Light felt that he could not take it anymore. He was exhausted every day. Tang Chou looked at the students in front of him expressionlessly. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. Their faces were filled with shame. Their performance in the battle was truly terrible. Tang Tian was also panting heavily. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Tang Tian did not show any signs of weakness. He stared back at Scarlet Light. But he did not sit down. Instead, he held onto his knees and stood there. Tang Chou did not know that his thirst for battle, his thirst for victory, and even his pride were the same. Tang Tian looked at Scarlet Light, who was exhausted. The battle that day had given him great inspiration. What could be better than a gold-ranked martial artist to train with? What is the name of Three Spirit City now? The City of Traps. In the end, our agency was chopped up like melons and vegetables. This old lady has never lost so much face in my entire life. Subordinate. Wuxia did not know how to answer. This time, we only have one goal. We want to design a mechanism that can kill a gold-ranked martial artist. Yen Tu's face darkened. Where did Tang Tian go? Yen Tu's tone was filled with suspicion. How could he disappear under our noses? And he disappeared for so many days. Again, Tang Tian threw the blade to Scarlet Light. I have said it before. My goal is to become the strongest trap engineer in history. How can a gold-ranked martial artist dare to be tough in front of me? Tang Tian was having fun. But he did not know that a group of people in Fairy City were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Tang Chou stood up and looked at everyone. He said solemnly, I will redesign our tactics. The intensity of our training will be greatly increased. I hope everyone will improve. Yaya's eyes lit up. Time passed day by day. In the Blood Meridian's laboratory, no one was satisfied with the battle. The one who ended the battle was Yaya, and the only thing they could do was to use the rabbit poison sea tactic, and as for how effective the poison was, they could not accurately estimate it. Tang Tian is back. He suddenly bowed. Sai Lei did not say anything about the mechanisms that they created being so weak. But in her heart, she was furious. As soon as the battle ended and the most urgent work was completed, all of the mechanical engineers were called before her, and then she mocked and ridiculed them for 2 hours. No one else. I want no one else. Do you understand? Duan Mu, what does all this have to do with you? One Scarlet Light was not enough to satisfy her. Mozu's face was flushed red. He felt a surge of blood rushing to his head. A strong sense of humiliation surfaced in his heart. He suddenly wanted to find a hole to hide in. Mo Wei's face was green. He was expressionless. But he clenched his fists so tightly that they were trembling. It showed that his heart was not calm. Kill them. The era of traps. But thinking about the situation in Ophiuchus constellation, he shook his head. They were really lucky. It would take a while for the Duke to free his hands. Yaya was startled. Then he ran away happily. It's already 10 blades. How can your calculations be worse than mine? 10 blades minus 3 blades, there's still 9 blades. Bullshit. It's obviously only 7 blades. Forgotten. By. The word funds from Old Man Fei's mouth made all the old men and old women's eyes turn green. I admit defeat. The sawtooth blade martial artist straightforwardly let go of the sawtooth blade in his hand. He was so tired that he collapsed. He sat on the ground and stared at Tang Tian with his eyes wide open. He was so tired that his face was cramping and his expression was stiff. The Duke's operation had failed. The loss of 4 gold-ranked martial artists, adding on himself, it was a heavy loss. But after thinking about it, Duan Mu felt that to the Duke, although the loss of the 4 gold-ranked martial artists was heavy, it did not hurt his foundation. On the contrary, the strength of 3 Spirits City was exposed. It would only make the Duke pay more attention to them. And to be targeted by the cunning and experienced Duke, it would be dangerous for 3 Spirit City. 200 men roared in unison, yes. Even the most stable mechanical engineer could not help but tremble. The crowd was enraged. Killing intent soared. You think the gold-ranked martial artists are afraid? You think it's normal to not be able to block them? Hey, are you guys still men? Again. Everyone in 3 Spirits City was in a mess. Everyone was busy summarizing the battle. Although the result was not bad, no one was satisfied with the battle. So, the best thing to do now is to continue to attack and act as if nothing happened. Suddenly, a scout barged in with an excited expression. Wouldn't I be the same as him if I sat down? No way. How can the winner be the same as the loser? It's more imposing to stand. Sai Lei stood on the table looking crazy. There was not a trace of her usual alluring beauty. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. They silently endured all of this, but that era where mechanisms flourished appeared countless times in their dreams. Only 7 blades. Actually, I have an idea. Bing said, you see, if you don't stay in front of your master with his memory, will he remember? Tang Chou did not know that there was a spirit general called Feng Chou. He was always thirsty for battle. You must have calculated wrongly. There are only 3 blades. The ambition in the depths of every mechanical engineer's heart that had been washed away by the cruel reality was fiercely pulled out by Sai Lei's crazy and hysterical screams. Duan Mu had been by Duke Huafu Man's side for a long time. He understood Duke Huafu Man's character. Duke Huafu Man was stubborn. Failure would only make him more prepared. The next counterattack would be like a mountain pressing down on them. It would be unstoppable. Where did he go? What did he go to do? Yen Tu said coldly, we don't know anything. Didn't you say that every corner of the manor is guarded by spies? If we can't catch Tang Tian, our plan will be a joke. Am I here to be a joke? Bing, who had abducted the child laborers, was satisfied. The funds had been cut down so much, and there was nothing better than free labor like Yaya. That's right. Tang Tian nodded his head and said, 10 more blades. 10 more blades and we will be done. Tang Tian's rapid improvement made him happy. It had been a long time since he felt such rapid improvement. But he was still not satisfied. There were only a few scattered people by his side. The other mechanical engineers had already returned to their posts, burying their heads in work. Kill them. Really 10 blades? Qi Guang looked at Tang Tian in disbelief and reminded him sternly, you are a man of your word. Right, Sai Lei seems to have a prisoner. Chapter 416. Andromeda City's Manor. Behind Shangguan Qianhui stood a cold and indifferent-looking young lady with gray eyes dressed in the same military uniform. Her most eye-catching feature was her head of short red hair. Chia Shangguan walked to a spirit horse and mounted it, her black hair fluttering in the wind. She raised her right arm up high. The snow-white glove was like a flag, guiding the silent army. You know about it too. Tang Tian's face was surprised. He was confused. Did I tell you before? Why don't I remember? Xiao Ran had a look of helplessness. General, can you not be so open and aboveboard? Shouldn't a lady be more reserved? That's right, we need to find Chia. Tang Tian's gaze was far away, he was in a daze. I wonder how Chia is doing. I have become a monster. My longing for you is the sharpest sword in my hands. Tang Tian was startled. The young man's heart had already flown far away. She relied on her own strength to subdue spirit generals, build an army, and went on expeditions to find a way back. So fussy. Ling Su snorted. He stood up and returned to his room to train. Let's go. Angelina was frightened by Tang Tian's expression and could only say, it's just some of your achievements and some of your past. Tang Yi was a man of few words, his emotions were restrained, his thoughts rarely showed on his face. He quietly followed by Tang Tian's side, as per usual. Ever since the appearance of the crazy young man, the number of scouts has doubled. Crane said leisurely, seems like our crazy young man is still very attractive. Xiao Ran's eyes lit up with fanaticism. The sharp and valiant young lady in front of her was the invincible war god that she worshipped. He was the god of war who had never been defeated in this battlefield that had been soaked in slaughter and slaughter. Xiao Ran did not say a word. After tidying up the military uniform, Chia Shangguan's expression became serious again. The gentleness in her eyes faded away and became as sharp as a sword. His delicate and flawless face was filled with determination. He wore a dark green military uniform with a golden ribbon. His shiny black hair draped over his shoulders, giving him a heroic aura. If you still need anything, feel free to tell Crane. Tang Tian continued. He suddenly turned the spearhead around and fiercely stabbed it into his chest. Ding! A crisp sound rang out, but his body did not leave a single mark. The current Caramel Academy was the most famous academy in Wuan Star, and no one could compare to it. Even youths from nearby planets would travel tens of thousands of miles to come here. The principal, Old Fartway, even more wretchedly carved a stone tablet with the words, Godlike Academy, written on it. The tree was planted at the most conspicuous position of the academy's main gate. Chia? Immortal Constellation's Chia Shangguan? Angelina asked curiously. Tang Tian and Chia Shangguan's relationship was not a secret. And following the rise of Tang Tian's reputation, many of Tang Tian's secrets were dug out. General, are you thinking about Tang Tian? The red-haired young lady said coldly, the war is imminent, but the commander-in-chief is thinking about his lover, and not thinking about how to win. This war is truly worrying. But, teacher, little Su is not afraid of pain at all. Little Su is afraid that in front of his fate, he does not have any power to retaliate. Angelina did not know what to say. This brat, can he have a bit of the demeanor of an expert? He truly did not need anything. The Andromeda battle robes were the first to be changed. The master had also approved the funds for the energy room, and the construction of the wolf stronghold was done without sparing any effort. All of Tang Tian's requests were fulfilled by Tang Tian. Only the core armies would be able to enjoy such treatment. The sound of the bugle horn, the killing intent, along with the wind, blew far away. Returning to the room, Ling Su's face was slightly pale. He removed the bandages on his body. His body was silver white. It was not Angelina's first time at the scene, but every time she came, she would have a different feeling. The weather had turned cold, and in the thin mist, the cold and majestic bronze fortress was already revealing a sinister and austere aura. It is better to be clear of the opponent's intentions. Crane said cautiously. The wind blew the young lady's long hair, her exquisite face, without a speck of dust. Ling Su's arrogant face became gentle, revealing a look of longing. Teacher knew, with his body, if he wanted to train the pointed sea spear, no, the Ares spear of stars, he needed to pay a price. Tang Yi shook his head. I don't need anything. You didn't tell me, I saw it from the Immortal Martial News. Angelina explained. The Immortal Martial News had an article about you. It was very detailed. On the contrary, Master Tang Tian's support for the Lupus army was somewhat over the line and did not conform to common sense. It was not a choice that a qualified commander would make. His body was completely silver. A cold intent flashed past Ling Su's eyes. Probably only lovers who meet every day have the qualifications to be reserved. Xie Shanghai Guan's gaze was slightly blurred. She suddenly stood up, tidied up her military uniform. With a soft voice, she muttered, "My longing for him is the source of my pursuit of victory." "Are you guys really leaving?" Angelina could not help but ask. Her expression was filled with worry. Tang Tian and the rest were all tyrannical. If they were to leave, then they would encounter the enemy's high-level fighting power, and they would be very passive. Xie Shanghai Guan followed the mountain path down. At the foot of the mountain, a strict and orderly spirit general army stood quietly. The eternally unchanging gray sky, the rusty ground, could not be seen to the end. When she entered the Southern Cross constellation, she did not expect to accidentally enter the ancient battlefield. It was the place where the three big armies fought. The three sides suffered countless casualties, and the corpses piled up. The killing intent was too heavy, causing spirit generals to float everywhere, and after 10,000 years, they were all abnormally strong. But Master definitely did not want me to walk to this step. Oh, they even mentioned Xie Shanghai Guan. Ling Su quietly wrapped the bandages around his body. The bandages were no longer able to help him alleviate the pain, but he was still used to using bandages, tightly wrapping his body. "Have you found out about the other party's situation?" Xie Shanghai Guan tightened her gloves and asked indifferently. Her mind suddenly surfaced the cold and mysterious figure and immediately mocked herself. Even if everyone in the world died, he would not be moved. Master Bing did not have any requests for the Lupus army. Tang Yi was not angry at all, because in terms of strength and growth, the Lupus army was truly a cannon fodder army. If not for Tang Yi pouring so much blood and sweat into the army, he would not be so reluctant. Xie Shanghai Guan's heroic and imposing face had a tinge of shyness, an unspeakable charm. She chuckled. "I always think of Big Brother Tian. After fighting so many battles, Xiao Ran still has no confidence in me. It really makes me sad." In this period of time, a few merchant groups had already entered Lupus constellation, and both parties were getting closer and closer. Without any warning, his hand trembled, and the spear tip pierced into the wall. But his spear technique was much stronger than before. Without any reason, he continued to tell himself with a clear conscience to be at ease as a cannon fodder army. "I found out," Xiao Ran said excitedly. "It is an old division of the Scorpio army. After they died, they became spirit generals and gathered together. The more powerful one is a military general of the Scorpio army. This will be more troublesome." His strength had recently improved greatly, and he had a strong thirst for battle. Furthermore, he could not tolerate any sand in his eyes. The scouts were like a group of flies. For him to be able to endure until now was completely due to Crane's efforts. For example, the Andromeda battle robe, not only was it given to the Lupus army, because of the large number of energy beasts, Angelina and the rest started to research on the Andromeda battle boots and other accessories with the intention of creating an Andromeda set. One could imagine when the Lupus army was equipped with the Andromeda set, their fighting strength would definitely be reborn. Angelina was shocked by Tang Tian's anxious gaze and suddenly felt envious. Since when would there be someone so concerned about his safety? Other than father. The Lupus stronghold was already in its embryonic form. It was purely a stronghold, firmly guarding the Seasons Field's waterway and at the same time protecting Fairy City. The higher-ups said, "Xie Shanghai seems to be isolated by a strong force, and they are unable to obtain any concrete information. But the star power of Perseus constellation is recovering at an astonishing rate, and the treasures of Perseus constellation are also quickly strengthening. There is only one possibility, and that is the power of Perseus' crown has already completely recovered. Your Xie Shanghai is becoming stronger." Ling Su grinned. The pain in his body was even more intense than before, and at every moment, it was eroding his state of mind. The pain of the silver transformation was 100 times more than before. A groan sounded out from outside the wall. Tang Tian said to Tang Yi, "Once the Lupus stronghold is built, we will set off. I will leave this place to you." Ling Su snorted and said impatiently, "I already said to let me kill them all and end it all. All those distant goals, no longer seemed that far away. The figure that was imprinted in his heart was the motivation for him to overcome the pain. She watched quietly, and her heart was filled with more confidence. The strength that Tang Tian displayed exceeded her expectations. The progress of the Lupus stronghold was extremely fast. All of them were made of bronze. It was extremely spectacular. It could be seen behind Tang Tian, there was a huge mechanical team. Chie. Tang Tian's eyes lit up and asked anxiously, "What did the higher-ups say?" Chie Shanghai nodded. "Let's go." On a rock protruding from the cliff, a young lady in a dark green military uniform, wearing snow-white gloves, propped her chin, her bright black eyes gazing into the distance, somewhat lost in thought. Yes. Tang did not speak any nonsense. But such a thing had really happened. Master did not hesitate to support him, to support the cannon fodder army that he was leading. There was no reason for them to continue to be weak. She gazed at the strict army, but her heart had flown far away. What did the higher-ups say? Tang Tian opened his eyes wide, his face full of excitement. Wearing a white robe with gold edges, he picked up the silver spear at the side. Tang Tian was slightly disappointed and muttered, "They didn't even know to send someone to interview me. I have so many battle achievements, so powerful. Really, the people of Immortal Martial are too unprofessional." Tang Yi could not find any reason not to risk his life to serve. The entire Lupus army could not find any reason not to risk their lives to serve. Chapter 417. Your Majesty, please. Crane bowed and extended his hand out. An unremarkable gray aura suddenly appeared in front of Ling Su. Ling Su laughed sinisterly. "Crazy Tang, you came at the right time. The old hatred and the new hatred, I will settle it today. Watch my spear." Andromeda Orion's star door. To be able to become the commander of an army at the age of 27, such qualifications were rarely seen in the entire Heaven's Road. Although the hunting net army that he commanded was the weakest of the three armies, but everyone knew that it was because of his qualifications, and not because of his strength. Before the two lunatics could react, he had to stay far away from them. Damn it! They escaped too quickly. Ling Su's gaze harbored ill intentions as he looked at Crane, his spear tip pointed at Crane, and roared, "Little Crane, since he ran, then come and fight with me." Adrian's mouth revealed a sneer. "In the past, when I roamed the various constellations in Heaven's Road, I stayed in Ursa Major constellation for half a year. In the entire Ursa Major constellation, everyone is filled with ambition. Yin Yonglai has worked hard, and the current Ursa Major constellation has already reached the peak. If they want to improve, they can only expand outwards. If they expand outwards, they only have one choice." "That's right." Adrian revealed a smile. "Bear King Yin Yonglai, this person has a fiery temper. If he knew that Yen Tu died in Fairy City, he would definitely attack Andromeda constellation." Only then did Ling Su see the opponent clearly. He was dressed in gray, his face pale white, his eyes empty, his facial features like a doll, extremely flat, but the deepest impression was the smile on his mouth, which took up a third of his face, cold and demonic. The two of them immediately sensed danger. Crane carefully searched in his mind for a long time, then shook his head. Never heard of him. Ling Su's pupils constricted, the hand holding onto the spear tip pressed down. The spear tip was like a venomous snake, accurately hitting the gray aura. When Flute led the hunting net army to arrive, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. And the arrival of the army caused the opponent's martial artists to quickly retreat. "That's right." Adrian straightforwardly nodded his head. If Andromeda constellation only has Angelina and the Plateau army, doing this is undoubtedly seeking death. However, there's one more variable now. A cold light flickered in Adrian's eyes. "Also, the fierceness of the battle for the Stargate puzzles me. Why did so many experts suddenly appear? The timing is too coincidental. There is a possibility that the Honorable Martial Alliance has already colluded with the Ursa Major constellation. In the past few days, the battles surrounding the Star Door were extremely intense." 3 of the Honorable Martial Alliance's gold-ranked martial artists had fallen, but Orion Constellation's losses were even greater. More than 5 gold-ranked martial artists were in a coma. Axiu and Lu Zhongguang sucked in a breath of cold air. They understood what their teacher meant. "Wait," Adrian said confidently. "We'll wait for reinforcements and an opportunity." Such a weird true power. This ray of gray light appeared very suddenly without any warning. It was like a wisp of dangerous gray fog that covered Ling Su's eyes. Lu Zhongguang also revealed a look of worry. If the Grizzly Bear army took over Andromeda Constellation, they would be able to attack Orion Constellation. Orion Constellation itself was not known for commerce, so the Andromeda, Orion star door was extremely important to Orion Constellation. It was not the first time Crane had passed through the star door, but the current star door was completely different from before and was in a complete mess. A wave of power that was filled with the smell of defeat drilled into his arm. Crane was stunned and pointed at his own nose in disbelief. "Me? Hey. This has nothing to do with me, right? Hey, quickly stop. Teacher is talking about Tang Tian?" Axiu was surprised. "Does teacher think that they can reach the Grizzly Bear army?" "General Lu has already taken control of the star door. Our reinforcements are already on the way," Adrian explained. "Our mission is simple. We need to make Yen 2 stay." In another corner of Andromeda City, in an unremarkable house, 3 people huddled together. "This brat is truly strong, to be able to escape from this eye-blocking lasso. There are not many people." The other party chuckled. The other party did not care about Ling Su. He turned his head and glanced at Crane, who was not far away, and muttered to himself. "Very vigilant." Angelina happily walked towards the garden. Crane stood straight, looked at the place where the mysterious martial artist disappeared, and thought to himself. After a few leaps, Crane landed beside Ling Su and asked curiously, "Who is he?" The other party did not expect Ling Su to be so ferocious and retreated in a panic. Ling Su shook his head. "I don't know, but he had a technique just now called eye-blocking lasso. Have you heard of this technique before?" "Who are you?" "Teacher, what do you mean?" Axiu's eyes lit up. Crane took the chance to escape and landed beside Angelina, who was dumbstruck. He exhaled and warmly bowed. "Your Majesty, please don't laugh." Flute did not dare to be careless and quickly set up a defense. Ling Su looked at the hole in the wall. His spear just now, although he did not use any powerful techniques, but the power was not weak, and the other party was able to receive it so easily, and then counterattack without making a sound. It showed how strong he was. Adrian and Axiu were shocked at the same time. Yen 2 was the #1 successor of Ursa Major Constellation, and his position in Ursa Major Constellation was very important. What kind of mission would Yen 2 personally come for? Yes, there was no movement previously until Tang Tian appeared. Lu Zhongguang frowned. Don't tell me their target is Tang Tian? But they do not have any enmity with Tang Tian. Under the sunlight, his body actually dissipated like smoke, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. The two of them cried out and started to fight. Waha! Tang Tian, who had just rushed back, was pleasantly surprised. "Hey, youngsters, you are full of fighting spirit. I'm coming too. Have a taste of this godlike young lad's thousand-cleave demonic hand. Take this." That's right, for such a boorish and uncultured person, how can he be worth your time? The sun is shining brightly today, and the roses in the garden are in full bloom. It is a good time to drink some tea and rest. I wonder if your Majesty is willing to come. Crane's face had a smile like the spring breeze, and bowed gracefully. "Why do they want to control Andromeda Constellation?" Axiu asked. "Then what do we do?" Lu Zhongguang asked straightforwardly. He had to first clear up the ruins and rearrange the defensive line, that way they could defend for a long time. Also, he had an even more important mission. Ling Su looked around unwillingly. He had finally met a good opponent, and thought that he could fight to his heart's content, but who knew that the opponent would run away with a feint. Ling Su's fighting spirit that had just been ignited suddenly hung in the air, without a place to go. We have General Sound Flute. Adrian's eyes lit up, and he clenched his fist. After this victory, my Orion constellation will no longer have to worry about future troubles. Don't look down on Tang Tian. Adrian shook his head. If we were to say that Yen Yonglai is a bear, then Tang Tian and his people are a pack of wolves. If Yen Yonglai wants to get rid of Tang Tian and his people, they will definitely suffer heavy losses. At that time, it will be our chance. Sound Flute quietly watched his subordinates clean up the battlefield. Looking at the ruins around him, his heart was filled with emotions. Sound Flute's physique was thin and weak, looking like he could not even stand the wind. His face was pale white, like a weak scholar. But if they looked down on him because of that, then they would die without knowing how to write. A strange look flashed past the martial artist's eyes. The two hands that were hidden in front of him drew in the air. Between Ursa Major constellation and Orion constellation, there was only Andromeda constellation. If Andromeda constellation entered the embrace of Ursa Major constellation, then to Orion constellation, it would be an extremely bad situation, as though they were stabbed in the back. Are they usually like this? Angelina pointed to the two people who were shouting and screaming, and asked blankly. Axiu was slightly worried. Wouldn't that give him an excuse to attack? Axiu replied solemnly. It will not be an alliance. If it is an alliance, Yen Tu can just walk into Fairy City. But Yen Tu has quietly snuck in, and has not shown himself. But that cold aura was like a bone maggot, chasing after him closely. The faintly discernible killing intent was like an erratic poisonous snake, causing him to be unable to pinpoint the opponent's position. It's Yen Tu is here. Lu Zhongguang's tone was filled with excitement. Not only Yen Tu, there are two other Ursa Major martial artists beside him. These two old fellows are too powerful, we were almost discovered by them. Ling Su turned a deaf ear, his spear was like rain, and he laughed sinisterly. Little Crane, count it as your bad luck today. A light flashed past Adrian's eyes, and he suddenly asked Lu Zhongguang. They didn't make any movements earlier? Ling Su asked in a deep voice. He shook his arm, and the gray and strange true power slowly dissipated. The astonishing destructive power of a gold-ranked martial artist was displayed vividly. The once flourishing city was now in ruins. If Wu Xia saw the three of them, he would definitely be shocked. The three of them were Adrian, Axiu, and Lu Zhongguang, who had clearly left Fairy City. When Adrian heard that a large number of unknown martial artists suddenly appeared near the Starry Door, he felt that something was wrong. They pretended to be supporting the Starry Door, and then quietly returned to Fairy City, and hid. Angelina was stunned. Master Crane, so beautiful. She quickly regained her senses and said shyly, that's great. No, their target is Andromeda constellation. Adrian shook his head. It seems like they want to quietly control Andromeda constellation. To control Andromeda constellation, they have to control two people at the same time. One is Tang Tian, and the other is Angelina. Angelina is easy to handle, but Tang Tian is not. We will meet again in the future. He suddenly turned his head and grinned at Ling Su. It was indescribably terrifying. His body stopped abruptly. The opponent rushed forward a few steps, stopped, and turned his body. Leave Yen Tu behind. Xiao and Lu Zhongguang jumped in fright. Without thinking, Ling Su rubbed his fingers on the spear shaft, causing it to spin violently like a venomous dragon coming out of its cave. At the same time, he exerted strength in his body and dashed towards the wall. Bang! The wall in front of Ling Su was like a piece of paper. Countless rocks flew everywhere, and Ling Su was like a ferocious tiger, soaring through the air. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.